Chapter 4291. The black rays of light seemed to be everywhere. They descended from the sky and intertwined with each other, enveloping an area of several thousand kilometers around Zhuowen. As far as the eye could see, the endless black light was like a complex intertwined black thread, forming a huge and extremely large cobweb-like cage. Zhuowen's expression was extremely serious. He looked at the endless black lines in the sky that were getting closer and closer. At the same time, he found that Doku, Mo Lan, and the others were attacking him with all their strength. He knew that he had to use all his trump cards now. Otherwise, he would not have a chance. Crackle. Fear, a terrible explosion resounded in the entire space. In the blink of an eye, it blasted on Zhuowen's body. Only Doku, Mo Lan, and the others' full-force attacks were like 7 angry dragons, descending on Zhuowen's body. 7 their attacks collided, and Zhuowen became the center of the collision. Then, a blazing and dazzling brilliance exploded. The full-force attacks of the 7 cosmic Dharma plane experts were extremely powerful. The ground kept sinking, and endless gravel floated in the air. This scene was like the end of the world, and heaven and earth did not exist. At the next moment, when the attacks of the 7 cosmic Dharma plane experts all fell on Zhuowen, the dense black light in the space fell down and fell on Zhuowen's body. The colorful energy brilliance was replaced by extreme darkness in the blink of an eye. It was the color of the black light, like a black poison, dyeing everything dark. Run! This last calamity is too terrifying. Doku shouted as he saw the black light spreading out in all directions. His eyes were filled with fear as he immediately flew away. Mo Lan, Shu Da, and the others reacted quickly. They quickly retreated until they were nearly 100 million miles away. Only then did the terrifying black light stop spreading. When Doku and the others looked back at the area covered by the black light, they all gasped. Near the land within 100 million miles, under the cover of the black light, was lifeless. Everything was annihilated, and the ground kept sinking, forming a deeper and deeper abyss. Sinus knocked and the others looked pale. Although they were quite conceited, they also knew that the black light was too terrifying. Even if they were in the range of the black light, they would at least be seriously injured. This kid was definitely going to die. However, the things on his body. Doku muttered to himself bitterly. They had come together to kill Zhuowen, but they also wanted to obtain the legacy and treasures of the Saint Master of 7 emotions and 6 desires that Zhuowen possessed. Now under the destruction of the black light, Zhuowen's body and soul would definitely be destroyed. If the things on his body were also destroyed, it would not be good news for them. Let's wait for the last tribulation to disperse before we enter this place to search. The 7 emotions 6 desires Saint Lord is an expert at the level of Nigu Starlight. How can his things be destroyed so easily? Mo Lan said in a deep voice. Everyone else agreed with Mo Lan's words. Things belonging to the 7 emotions 6 desires Saint Lord were not so easily destroyed. At this time, as the minutes and seconds passed, the terrifying black light began to gradually diminish. The terrifying aura of the tribulation also gradually weakened. Doku, Shu Da, and the others silently guarded the periphery, waiting for the moment when all the black light disappeared. The 7 of them were vigilant, glancing at the others from the corner of their eyes from time to time. They were always on guard against any sudden attacks. Finally, when the last black light disappeared, all the black holes in the sky gradually disappeared, and the sky revealed light. The 7 of them, who had been separated by a distance, displayed their movement skills at the same time and quickly rushed toward the core area. They all wanted to find Zhuowen's body as soon as possible. Hey! There's light! Doku was the fastest. His figure was graceful as he arrived at the core area. Due to the tribulation, the surrounding 100 million miles had completely become a bottomless abyss. Doku was the latest to arrive at the core area of the abyss and saw a strange light there. Although Doku was puzzled, he did not think too much about it. Instead, he quickly approached the light. After getting closer, Doku realized that the source of the light was a large seal, which was suspended in mid-air. This seal was like a guiding light at the bottom of the abyss, guiding the lost people to this place. And, below the seal, a figure was sitting cross-legged. Because his back was facing Doku, Doku could not see the figure's true face. Doku was smart. He could tell at a glance that this figure was exactly the same as Zhuowen's. Did that mean that Zhuowen was not dead? As soon as this thought appeared in his mind, the figure that was originally sitting cross-legged suddenly stood up and turned around, revealing a face that was rather pleasing to the eye. He was none other than Zhuowen. At this moment, Zhuowen was still in a very sorry state. His body was covered in wounds and blood flowed freely. However, his aura was as vast as the sea and unfathomable. It made Doku feel apprehensive. In particular, the seal hanging above Zhuowen's head gave Doku an extremely strong sense of danger. That seal was not simple. "You're not dead," Doku exclaimed. "Thanks to all of you, I almost died." Zhuowen stared coldly at Doku in front of him. When the 7 of them had joined forces to attack him, his soul and sword intent had been forced to resist their attacks, causing him to lose the best opportunity to defend himself against the black beam of light, which had almost killed him. Although he had finally used the Grand Emperor's seal to escape death, he had suffered a lot because of it. "You're lucky to be able to pass the tribulation smoothly. It should be the credit of this seal. Now, hand the seal over to me, and I can promise not to attack you." Doku looked at the Grand Emperor's seal hanging above Zhuowen's head with a blazing gaze. With his sharp eyes, he could tell at a glance that this Grand Emperor's seal was extraordinary. He subconsciously thought that this Grand Emperor's seal was a treasure that Zhuowen had obtained from the 7 Emotions 6 Desires Saint Lord's treasury. Zhuowen sneered. This Doku really did not care about his face. Just now, he was shouting to kill him, and now he was asking for something from him. How shameless. "Get lost," Zhuowen said softly. Even Doku's face darkened. "I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. Don't blame me for not showing mercy." Doku was filled with murderous intent. He immediately used his cosmic form and rushed toward Zhuowen. Although Zhuowen was only facing the great tribulation of heaven and earth, Doku knew that this person's strength could not be explained by common sense. Moreover, he was a cautious person. Therefore, he did not dare to show mercy. Doku's cosmic form was the image of a huge scholar holding a divine brush. Its body was surrounded by a long dragon of white rice paper. Doku held the divine brush in his right hand and pointed at the void. Countless black ink energy came from the void, vaporizing the space and collapsing heaven and earth. Zhuowen put away the Grand Emperor's seal and took a step forward. A huge Chen Kuan world slowly rose from the void behind him. The moment Zhuowen's Chen Kuan world appeared, Doku was completely shocked. Zhuowen's Chen Kuan world was like a pagoda. It was actually 9 levels high. Each level was a different Chen Kuan world. Moreover, it was far more powerful than the Chen Kuan world of an ordinary Great Tribulation of Heaven and Earth cultivator. But Zhuowen's Chen Kuan world was like 9 huge Chen Kuan worlds stacked together. Moreover, each level of the Chen Kuan world contained different terrifying Great Tribulation of Heaven and Earth energy. Chapter 4292. Is this the F*King Universe world? Cho could not help but curse. Zhuowen's Chen Kuan world was too strange. He had never seen or heard of it before. Zhuowen's eyes were calm. His right hand pointed at the void, and in the universe world behind him, endless golden flames suddenly gushed out from the lowest layer, easily evaporating the ink into mist. After blocking Doku's attack, Zhuowen's right hand didn't stop. He pointed at the void again, and countless ice crystals gushed out from the second layer of his universe world. Countless ice crystals condensed in the void, turning into a giant ice sculpture-like beast. It roared and charged at Doku with unstoppable momentum. Doku's face was gloomy. He didn't hold back anymore. The divine brush in his hand quickly drew on the rice paper in front of him. After 3 breaths of time, a lifelike giant Pishio appeared on the rice paper. Doku's divine brush shook slightly. The Pishio roared and came to life, jumping out of the paper. Bang! Bang! The 2 giant beasts fiercely collided in midair. Shocking beastly roars continuously resounded. Zhuowen's right hand didn't stop. He pointed at the void, and the third and fourth layers of tribulation energy spread out in the sky, rushing toward Doku. The third and fourth layers of tribulation energy were both lightning tribulations. However, the third layer was blood lightning, and the fourth layer was black lightning. Their power was extremely terrifying. Doku's face was a little pale. The divine brush in his hand didn't stop drawing on the rice paper. Strange beasts jumped out of the paper, rushing out. However, the blood lightning and black lightning were too terrifying. The strange beasts that Doku drew couldn't resist for long. They were all killed. Doku could only passively retreat. He kept drawing all kinds of strange beasts, weapons, and attack methods on the rice paper, blocking the blood lightning and black lightning. Doku's face was ugly. He could see that Zhuowen's universe world had 9 layers. The tribulation energy of each layer should be different, and each layer should be more terrifying than the previous one. Zhuowen was only standing there, but he was forced into such a difficult situation. This made Doku both shocked and afraid of Zhuowen. How could there be such a powerful universe tribulation expert in this world? Here at this moment, Zhuowen was also a little shocked by the strength of his Qian Kuan world. He had only used the 4th level of tribulation energy, but he was actually evenly matched with Do Kang. It should be noted that Doku was an expert at the early stage of the Dharma laws of the universe. In the past, if he had to deal with such an expert, he would have to use all his strength. It would not be as easy as it was now. Zhuowen's right hand pointed in the air again. He was about to release the 5th level's calamity energy, but he discovered that a terrifying power was beginning to devour his body. Zhuowen let out a muffled groan. He immediately knew that his limit should be using the tribulation energy of the 5th level. Furthermore, after using it, it would have quite a few side effects on him. As his cultivation level continued to increase, Zhuowen knew that the calamities in the subsequent levels of the universe world would all be under his control. Whoosh whoosh. However, a series of whooshing sounds came from all around the chasm. Mo Lan, Shu Da, and the other 5 appeared around Zhuowen. After entering the abyss, they had been searching aimlessly for Zhuowen, scattering in various parts of the abyss. Now, they were attracted by the commotion caused by the battle between Zhuowen and Doku, and they all rushed over. This kid is actually not dead. He's really lucky. Mo Lan, Shu Da, and the others also revealed looks of surprise. Obviously, they were deeply surprised that Zhuowen was not dead. Especially when they saw that Doku was actually evenly matched with Zhuowen, Mo Lan, Shu Da, and the rest of the 6 revealed looks of disbelief. This kid has just advanced to the universe tribulation, and is actually on par with Doku? He's so changeable. Look, this kid's Qian Kuan world is extremely unusual. It actually has 9 levels, and each level is formed by a complete Qian Kuan world. Mo Lan, Shu Da, and the others' faces darkened. They were all shocked by Zhuowen's strength. Only the shock in their eyes was quickly replaced by killing intent and gloominess. The stronger Zhuowen was, the greater the trouble in the future. The more they wanted to get rid of this kid. Everyone, what are you still looking at? Let's attack together. We have already completely offended this kid. With his growth speed, it will be easy for him to take revenge on us in the future. If we don't eliminate the roots now, there will be endless trouble in the future. Seeing that he couldn't do anything to Zhuowen for the time being, he became a little anxious. When he saw that Mo Lan and the others were still looking around, he couldn't help but say in a flustered and exasperated manner, "Everyone, what are you waiting for? Let's attack together," Mo Lan said coldly. He summoned his cosmic aspect and rushed towards Zhuowen. Shu Da of the 5 Immortals Divine Sect was not to be outdone. He also summoned his cosmic aspect and followed closely behind Mo Lan. Amitabha. This kid's evil spirit is too deep. This old monk must get rid of this evil for the sake of the people. The Buddhist sect pretended to chant a Buddhist mantra. He also summoned his Vajra Dharma idol and rushed out. This old bald donkey is still so hypocritical. It's disgusting to see him like this. Liu Qingchen of the moon-chopping sacred pavilion looked at the Buddhist sect with disdain. Her subordinates' movements were not slow either. They also used all their strength. The remaining evil spirit of the 3 suppression divine prisons and Huan Ri of the Water Moon illusory house did not say a word. They both summoned their cosmic aspects and used their actions to express their decision. With the addition of Mo Lan, Shu Da, and the other 5 people, the originally evenly matched situation instantly changed. The calamities released by Zhuowen were all blocked by the 7 people. At the same time, the 7 people were constantly approaching Zhuowen. They planned to give Zhuowen a thunderous blow and kill him completely. Zhuowen Z's expression was calm. He pointed his right hand at the void again and released the calamity energy of the 5th level. The calamity of this level was a terrifying flood that surged endlessly. This flood was silver-white and fiery red in color. Zhuowen released the 2 types of flood at the same time. The strong corrosiveness even corroded the void into nothingness. The 7 people who had rushed in front of Zhuowen were caught off guard. They were washed away by the rolling flood and retreated in a sorry state. Along with at the same time, they were horrified to find that this strange flood was constantly eating away at the energy film on the surface of their cosmic aspects. "This guy," Mo Lan muttered. Just as Lan was about to curse, a strong sense of crisis rose in his heart. He suddenly raised his head and saw Zhuowen holding the Taiyu sacred sword and floating over. The sword pierced through, and the target was him. Mo Lan was in the middle of the flood vortex. His movements were inevitably hindered. He also had to divert his attention to resist the terrifying corrosive power of the flood. He could only use 1/3 of his strength to resist Zhuowen's attack. However, Mo Lan did not panic. Although Zhuowen's Qian Kuan world was very strange, he did not think that Zhuowen's own strength could be that strong. No matter how strong Zhuowen was, his cultivation was only in the great calamity of Qian Kuan. He only used 1/3 of his strength, which was enough to force Zhuowen to retreat. Bang! Mo Lan's huge cosmic aspect suddenly punched out, smashing towards Zhuowen's face. Zhuowen's expression was cold. His movements were like lightning. He dodged Mo Lan's punch and quickly slashed out with the Taiyu sacred sword in his hand. Clang! The moment Zhuowen and Mo Lan passed each other, Mo Lan's huge cosmic aspect's right arm soared into the sky and then landed heavily on the ground. Chapter 4293. When the right arm of the Dharma form fell to the bottom of the abyss, there was a clear sound of collision. Mo Lan reacted and looked at his broken right arm in fear. Heaven and earth, one line of heaven. Mo Lan's eyes turned red. Just as he was about to scream, an indifferent voice sounded from behind him. Amidst the indifferent voice, an extremely terrifying sword light swept out like endless flowing flames and landed heavily on Mo Lan's body. Demon Mo Lan roared and used all his strength to block the sword light that Zhuowen threw out again. But, unfortunately, he could only use 1/3 of his strength, and the result was self-evident. His Dharma form's left arm was chopped off, and even half of his body was broken. Zhuowen stepped into the void and turned into a flash of lightning. He kept flashing around Mo Lan, and every time he flashed, he would throw out a terrifying sword light. Under Zhuowen's repeated slashes, Mo Lan's huge Dharma idol began to become riddled with holes and became extremely dim. Sword shaking the 9 heavens. Zhuowen appeared in front of Mo Lan's Dharma form again, and the Taiyu sacred sword in his right hand slashed out again. The rolling sword chi kept rising, forming a terrifying sword chi whirlpool. The sword chi whirlpool grew bigger and bigger as it spun like a snowball. Finally, it hit the Dharma form's chin. The terrifying destructive power caused Mo Lan's Dharma form's head to be pierced through by the sword chi whirlpool. The huge Dharma form was also crushed into dust by the sword chi whirlpool. Poof! Poof! Demon! As soon as Mo Lan's Dharma form was crushed, Mo Lan quickly retreated. He was in a sorry state, and blood was flowing out of his 7 orifices. He looked ferocious. Here Mo Lan was scared out of his wits. As soon as he retreated from the Dharma form, he ran out of the abyss without looking back. Naturally, Zhuowen would not allow Mo Lan to escape just like that. The Qian Kuan world, which was floating not far away, descended and completely suppressed Mo Lan within the Qian Kuan world. All kinds of calamities came one after another and landed on Mo Lan. Mo Lan was in so much pain that he wanted to die, and he kept screaming. After dealing with Mo Lan cleanly, Zhuo Wen's expression remained calm. The power of the 3 divine abilities he had created was already very strong. Now, he'd even broken through to the world tribulation, so the might of these 3 divine abilities had naturally risen to a whole new level, and they were unstoppable. It's your turn now. Zhuo Wen's eyes were fixed on the other 6 people in the endless flood. The remaining 6 felt a chill in their hearts. They felt a deep sense of fear and dread. In any case, Mo Lan was a strong cultivator at the early stage of the Dharma phase of the universe. How could the 6 of them not feel an intense sense of danger when he was so easily dealt with by this young man? The 5 of you, don't hold back. He ignited his Dharma idol and broke free from the flood. Then, he would work together to kill this person. Xu Da, Liu Qingchen, and the others were a little hesitant. Burning Dharma powers was a unique desperate move of the universe Dharma powers. In a very short period of time, they could burn Dharma powers to gain several times their current power. The side effects of burning Dharma powers were also great. Once the Dharma powers were burned out, their Dharma powers would be seriously damaged. They would not be able to condense Dharma powers again, and there would be no hope for future breakthroughs. Clang. Of course, as long as the Dharma powers were not burned out, there was still a chance for the Dharma powers to recover, but the cost was great. What Doku said is right. This man's strength is beyond our expectations. It's time to fight with all our might. The evil spirit of the god-suppressing prison looked fierce, and the huge Dharma powers that surrounded him suddenly ignited with golden flames. The evil spirit's aura rose rapidly in a very short period of time. Whoosh! Lolo! The evil spirit roared and waved his right hand. The flood that was surrounding him was separated by his hand. He jumped out and rushed toward Zhuowen with the huge universe Dharma powers. Everyone! Don't hesitate any longer. The opportunity is fleeting. Doku roared. He also began to burn his Dharma powers. Endless golden flames danced and burned around his huge Dharma powers. Doku seemed to be assisted by the gods as he broke through the surrounding flood and rushed out of the shackles. Xu Da, Liu Qingchen, the Buddhist sect, and Huan Ri saw that Doku and the evil spirit had begun to fight with all their might. They also gritted their teeth and burned their Dharma powers, erupting with battle strength that was several times greater than usual. In the distance, Zhuowen, who was holding the Taiyu sacred sword, looked at the 6 people who were charging toward him with burning Dharma powers. His expression became much more serious. At the moment when the great battle was about to break out, they did not notice that a graceful figure had silently appeared under a huge rock at the southern edge of the Blackbone Wilderness. It was a woman with a graceful figure. She wore a thin veil on her face, and her pair of crystal-clear eyes seemed to contain the unfathomable depths of the universe. The secret female cultivator stood under the rock, her crystal-clear eyes fixed on the great battle that was taking place in the depths of the abyss. The abyss was deep and dark. No matter how good one's eyesight was, one would not be able to see anything in the depths of the abyss. However, this woman's eyes were extremely unique. They pierced through the layers of darkness of the abyss and reached the bottom of the abyss. She could see the battle below clearly. 9-leveled Chen Kuan world. This person's potential is stronger than I expected. He is even stronger than Sakyamuni back then. The mysterious woman's eyes shone with a strange light. After seeing Zhuowen's Chen Kuan world, her beautiful eyes shone with a strange light. She could not help but mumble softly to herself. 6 early-stage Dharma powers of the universe are burning their Dharma powers to attack this person together. I wonder if this person can withstand the combined attacks of the 6 of them. The secret female cultivator frowned slightly. She was considering whether to help Zhuowen block the attacks of the 6 people. However, after thinking about it, she gave up. She wanted to observe Zhuowen more. She had a feeling that this Zhuowen was not simple. Perhaps he could withstand the combined attacks of the 6 Dharma powers of the universe. It has begun. The mysterious woman's beautiful eyes slowly narrowed. She saw that at the bottom of the abyss, the 6 crazy Dharma powers of the universe had finally collided fiercely with Zhuowen. Life in the morning and death in the evening. A faint voice sounded faintly in the abyss. At this moment, Time in the entire abyss seemed to have stopped. Whether it was life or death, love or hatred, all of it seemed to have stopped at this moment. In the depths of the abyss, there was only a flash of sword light that shone eternally. This flash of sword light was too shocking. Dodo, Shu Da, and the rest of the 6 people who had burned their Dharma powers unleashed their attacks together and collided heavily with this flash of sword light. The 2 of them exploded with a terrifying sound of explosion and a blinding light. Poochie. Zhuowen suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The part of his right hand that was holding the sword was completely shattered. Blood splattered everywhere. However, his eyes were filled with madness. He began to continuously activate the endless calamity power of the Qian world to resist the combined attacks of the 6 Dharma powers. Dodo, Shu Da, and the rest of the 6 people were not in a good state either. Their combined attacks had indeed gained the upper hand, but they were unable to completely suppress Zhuowen's flash of sword light. Instead, they were met with an extremely strong resistance. The after-effects of burning their Dharma powers were gradually appearing on their bodies, making them feel very uncomfortable. Chapter 4294. Continue to burn your Dharma power and kill him in one fell swoop. Do Chio roared. Nok went completely mad. He roared and burned his Dharma idol even more desperately. One could see that his Dharma idol was melting. Once it completely melted, his Dharma idol would be completely destroyed. However, Doku obviously didn't consider this. The only thing he wanted to do now was to completely kill Zhuowen. Shu Da, Liu Qingchen, and the other 4 felt uncomfortable, but they gritted their teeth and continued to burn their Dharma power. They did not want to give Zhuowen any chance to catch his breath. Fart. Zhuowen once again spat out a mouthful of blood as he continuously retreated. That dazzling sword light began to dim. Sigh. Indeed, with my current strength, it is still difficult to fight against 6 cosmic Dharma power masters alone. Zhuowen sighed and took out the Grand Emperor's seal from his sleeve. Grand Emperor. The Grand Emperor's seal was mysterious. Even though Zhuowen had broken through the Qian tribulation, he still did not know the details of this thing. He only knew that the Grand Emperor's seal was so powerful that it scared him. When the sword light was completely destroyed, Zhuowen held the Grand Emperor's seal and stared at the attacks of the 6 masters who were getting closer and closer. He channeled his divine power into the Grand Emperor's seal and with a flip of his right hand, he threw the Grand Emperor's seal at the approaching attacks. After the Grand Emperor's seal left his hand, it expanded from the size of a palm to the size of a huge mountain and stood in front of Zhuowen. Boom! Do Choshu Da and the other 4 masters did not hesitate to burn their Dharma power to launch a joint attack. However, not only did they fail to leave a single mark on the Grand Emperor's seal, but these terrifying attacks also dissipated and disappeared. Phew! This boy is finally going to die in our hands. Do Chio, Shu Da, and the other 5 heaved a sigh of relief when they saw that the stubborn sword light was completely destroyed by their attacks. Now Zhuowen had become their nightmare. If Zhuowen did not die, they would not be able to rest easy. Now, they were certain that Zhuowen would not be able to live. But soon, they saw the Grand Emperor's seal in front of Zhuowen and were all stunned. While when they saw the mountain-like Emperor Tai's seal moving rapidly and appearing above their heads, the shock in their eyes turned into fear. The unfathomable and terrifying aura from the Imperial Tai seal sent chills down their spines. Even the depths of their souls felt fear. Fear. The terrifying aura poured down like a waterfall. Doku and the other 5 cultivators trembled in fear. They wanted to activate their universe avatars again as a last-ditch effort. But this was because their Dharma idols had been burned too badly. At this moment, their Dharma idols were in tatters. Even if they were to reform their Dharma idols were dim and lifeless. What is this thing? However, before he could finish his sentence, the Tai Emperor's seal had completely suppressed him and the other 5 people. Rumble. The Imperial seal landed on the ground, and the entire Black Gold Mountain range shook violently. Many huge mountains were shaken by the shockwaves, and many terrifying gullies appeared on them. Zhuowen's face was pale. After confirming that the aura of Doku and the other 5 cultivators had completely disappeared, He cut off the connection with the Imperial Thai Emperor's seal and sat on the ground. I did not expect that I could still barely use the Imperial Thai Emperor's seal after advancing to the Great Chen Kuan Tribulation. What kind of divine weapon is this? Zhuowen smiled bitterly. Looking at the palm-sized Imperial Thai Emperor's seal, Zhuowen waved his right hand and kept it in his sleeve. Doku and the other 5 cultivators were completely destroyed by the Imperial Thai Emperor's seal. Not even a trace of them was left behind. Mo Lan was still trapped in Zhuowen's Chen Kuan world and was being tortured. Zhuowen took out his communication jade talisman and informed Shapotian and Shan Lingyun that they were safe. Then, he sat down cross-legged and started to heal himself. This battle was still a little difficult for Zhuowen. Now that he was injured, he would have fainted if he had not been holding on. You have killed so many people and you still dare to stay here and heal yourself. I really admire your courage. Not long after Zhuowen started to heal himself, a graceful voice floated from above the abyss and appeared not far away from Zhuowen. The voice was crisp and clear. Zhuowen slowly opened his eyes and looked at the mysterious woman in front of him. He said, "I was just waiting for you to appear." The mysterious woman squinted her beautiful eyes and said in surprise, "When did you discover me?" "When I used the Imperial Thai Emperor's seal to kill Doku, Shu Da, and the other 5 cultivators, you gave yourself away. Therefore, I sensed it," Zhuowen said calmly. Now, Zhuowen was severely injured and it was difficult for him to use his divine power. It could be said that he was completely powerless now. If the mysterious woman in front of him wanted to kill him, Zhuowen would not be able to resist. God, the mysterious woman nodded. She was very confident in her concealment skills. The reason why Zhuowen could detect her was that she was shocked by the Imperial Thai Emperor's seal and gave herself away. However, this also made the mysterious woman think more highly of Zhuowen. This man's senses were sharper than she had imagined. After all, she gave herself away very subtly and ordinary cultivators would not be able to detect her. "What is that seal?" the mysterious woman suddenly asked. "The Imperial Thai Emperor's seal. Its origin is very mysterious and I am not very clear about it," Zhuowen replied calmly. When was ready to attack. If the mysterious woman wanted to attack him, he would use the Imperial Thai Emperor's seal to fight her again. However, to his surprise, the mysterious woman did not ask about the Imperial Thai Emperor's seal anymore. Instead, she threw a pill to Zhuowen and said, "This is the worst healing pill I have. Take it and recuperate." Wen took the pill. His pupils shrank as he discovered that the pill in his hand was a second heavenly layer eternal healing divine pill. However, this was only the worst pill the woman had. Then, what was the best pill she had? "Don't worry. If I wanted to kill you, I wouldn't have to beat around the bush." The mysterious woman obviously thought that Zhuowen was silent because he was afraid that she would poison him, so she explained. Zhuowen nodded expressionlessly. After confirming it repeatedly, he swallowed it into his stomach. However, Zhuowen's entire body felt warm and comfortable. The surging medicinal power quickly circulated around his body and began to rapidly heal his meridians, flesh, internal injuries, and other injuries. The pill at the second sky of Eternal Realm was indeed extraordinary. In just 10 breaths, Zhuowen's injuries were healed by 1/3. Next, Zhuowen only needed to refine the remaining medicinal power. Then, his injuries would be healed by about 70 to 80%. Zhuowen looked at the mysterious woman in front of him in confusion and asked. Divine. The mysterious woman took out the Eye of the Void and threw it to Zhuowen. She said, "I was just entrusted by someone to do my job. Moreover, the incomplete map agreement you have is somewhat related to me, so you can't die yet. This is the Eye of the Void. It can help you leave the Golden Crow mountain range." Only then did Zhuowen notice that the Eye of the Void that the mysterious woman threw to him was a crystal-like eyeball. It was palm-sized and lifelike. When he raised his head again, he found that the mysterious woman had disappeared. Chapter 4295. The Eye of the Void. When rubbed the Eye of the Void in his right hand, it looked like a real eyeball. He was deep in thought. He was very sure that he did not know the mysterious woman. Judging from her words, She had only come to help him because of the map fragment in his possession. This woman must be related to Shu Ju and Ziyu. Does that mean that the Eye of the Void is Shu Ju's idea? Zhuowen muttered to himself. There was a mysterious light in his eyes. He was rather surprised that Shu Ju was willing to give up something as precious as the Eye of the Void for the map fragment. Although he had never seen the Eye of the Void, he had heard of it. He knew that it was priceless and extremely rare. Zhuowen did not use the Eye of the Void immediately. He kept it and turned into a puff of green smoke, disappearing into the abyss. Shu, the Eye of the Void, could even save the life of Nigu and Guang Guang. To Zhuowen, it was equivalent to having an extra life. How could he use it so casually? Until he had another way to escape from Wujin Mountains. If this method did not work, he would consider using the Eye of the Void. Zhuowen flew all the way to the south of Wujin Mountains. Route based on the current situation, the only way to Wujin Mountains should be through Jiaotian City. Zhuit was not hard for when to imagine that most of the experts were hiding in Jiaotian City. If he foolishly left Jiaotian City, he would be digging his own grave. While Jiaotian City was the northernmost city of Wujin Mountains. Therefore Zhuowen planned to go to the southernmost area of Wujin Mountains, which was the area that Diluo City was in charge of. Diluo City was the city that Zhuowen was most familiar with. When he had entered Wujin Mountains from Diluo City, he had secretly left some tricks in the passageway of Diluo City. Originally he had just left them casually. Now, it seemed that this unintentional willow was about to grow into a shade. While Zhuowen was flying towards the south of Wujin Mountains, Jiaotian City was in complete chaos. In the news that all the experts who had entered Wujin Mountains, including the experts from the Seven Forces, had all died spread through the city at an unbelievable speed. Zhao in Heaven City, in a luxurious loft box near the central square, the 7 city lords were kneeling on one knee in front of the female lead with a bitter smile on their faces. The development of love seemed to be out of their control. Her eyebrows were tightly knitted together as she said softly, "Looks like we still underestimated this kid. Since he has the strength to kill so many experts, it proves that Yu City was killed by him. Lady Handsome, what should we do now?" Clear Sky City's City Lord Chen Zhao asked cautiously. "I will personally enter the Black Gold Mountain Range. The 7 of you guard the passageway. Once Zhuowen slips out, inform me immediately." The girl's beautiful eyes became very serious. Now, she no longer dared to underestimate Zhuowen. He had just advanced to the cosmic tribulation, but he was already able to kill an early-stage Dharma adept of the universe. Such a monster was too big of a threat and could not be allowed to live. "Lady Handsome, we have also seen the video that was sent back. This kid was able to kill the experts from the 7 organizations mainly because of the seal that he has. However, he has also paid a terrible price because of this. Now, he has no strength to fight at all. You don't have to do it yourself to capture this kid. Jian Luo and I will go in and capture him," God Bless suggested rather nonchalantly. Since many of the powerhouses who entered the Wujin mountain range were given jade tokens by the 7 castellans, there was a surveillance formation in the jade tokens. It could record everything that the jade token owner saw and reported back to the main token in Clear Sky City. Therefore, the girl and the rest were aware of the tragic battle that happened in the Black Gold Mountain range. While, the mysterious lady only appeared after the battle ended. Therefore, the girl and the rest did not know that Zhuowen had an additional Eye of the Void and that he had recovered from his injuries. She shook her head and said, "Even a lion has to go all out to capture a rabbit. What about us? This kid is cunning and unpredictable. We can't let our guard down. I have to enter the Black Gold Mountain range personally." Yu pursed his lips and did not say anything. On the other hand, Jian Luo remained silent as usual. The girl was decisive and resolute. After making her decision, she brought God Bless and Jian Luo into the tunnel in the central square of Clear Sky City and entered the Black Gold Mountain range. However, the 7 city lords were still guarding the central square. Only the 7 city lords' faces were pale, and their limbs were trembling. At the moment the handsome female entered the passageway, they could clearly feel an extremely tyrannical divine sense sweep over the square. They knew that the girl must have attracted the attention of the experts who were hiding in the dark when she entered the Black Gold Mountain range. Let them go. However, the 7 city lords found it strange. After the powerful divine consciousness scanned the square, they withdrew at the same time as if they had a tacit understanding. It was as if they were wary of each other and were afraid of each other. I wonder what these experts from the Supreme Realm are up to. They're not attacking or saying anything. Could it be that they're waiting for Zhuoan to come out? Di Luo City's city lord, Ling Luo, said bitterly. That might be the case. The tunnel in Clear Sky City was the only way in and out of the Black Gold Mountain range. If Zhuoan wanted to leave the Black Gold Mountain range, he would have to come out from here. Otherwise, he would have to stay in the Black Gold Mountain range forever. With those experts' abilities, if Zhuoan really comes out, he won't have a chance to escape, Chen Zhao said as he nodded. Let's not make any wild guesses. If those experts hear us, we won't have a good time. Burning Sky City's city lord, Fen Xin, said softly. Everyone remained silent. Wu in the Black Gold Mountain range, when Zhuoan entered the southernmost border of the Black Gold Mountain range, he was blocked by powerful seals. As long as I can find the traces that I left in the tunnel, I should be able to reopen the tunnel to Di Luo City. Zhuoan mumbled to himself. He began to look for the location of the tunnel to Di Luo City at the border. For some unknown reason, a trace of an ominous feeling had suddenly arisen in his heart since just now. It was as if something was chasing after him, causing his mood to become much more urgent and heavy. He knew that the news of the experts who entered the Black Gold Mountain range being annihilated was already known to the outside world. As the mastermind of this operation, the handsome female lead would definitely not be able to sit still. She might personally enter the Black Gold Mountain range to kill him. He had to find the tunnel to Di Luo City as soon as possible and leave the Black Gold Mountain range. While Zhuoan was focused on finding the tunnel, the handsome female lead and the other 2 had already arrived at the Blackbone Wasteland. At this place, the Blackbone Wasteland, after the baptism of several great battles, had become a bottomless abyss. Deep the abyss was incomparably dark. It was impossible to see what was at the bottom. It was strange and unfathomable. The handsome female lead and the other 2 hovered above the abyss, silently staring at it. Chapter 4296. Zhuoan isn't here? That's strange. Theoretically, his injuries are so severe that it's difficult for him to even move. How could he still have the strength to leave? You frowned slightly. Just now, he had searched the abyss but did not find any trace of Zhuoan. He was very puzzled. Didn't I tell you before? There's always an accident. Moreover, this guy has given us plenty of surprises. We can't be careless when dealing with him. The lady glared at God Bless coldly. The latter laughed awkwardly, not daring to refute her. Fortunately, this guy's aura is still lingering here. I'll find out where he went with the goddess's guidance. He won't be able to run away this time. A murderous aura flashed in her eyes as she performed hand seals. A faint pink mist lingered around her fair and slender fingers. Powder the red mist intertwined and condensed, jumping between the beautiful woman's slender fingers. It was like a cluster of jumping fairies, lively and lively. Eventually, the pink mist gathered and turned into a pink lady's silhouette the size of a palm. Powder the red silhouette was blurry and chaotic. However, it gave people the urge to check it out. It was as if they would only stop when they had a clear look at the silhouette. God Bless and Jian Luo were mesmerized by the pink silhouette. If the lady had not woken them up, they might have fallen for it. This is the goddess's image. It's born with a powerful seductive ability. Don't keep staring at it. Otherwise, you guys will be seduced and lose your mind. The lady reminded them. God Bless and Jian Luo immediately snapped out of their thoughts. They were afraid and dared not look at the goddess's image anymore. As soon as the goddess's image was formed, it flew towards the south of Wujin mountain range like a fairy. Hey! In the south? Then, why is Zhuoan going to the south of Wujin mountain range? Although the lady was confused, she followed closely behind with God Bless and Jian Luo. Wu at the southern border of Wujin mountain range. Zhuoan, who was walking around the boundary stone tablet, suddenly stopped on an inconspicuous little mound. He stepped on the little mound softly with his right foot. He realized that the bottom of the mound was hard. It did not seem like it was formed by ordinary soil. Squatting down, he gently wiped away the sand on the surface of the mound, revealing the silver-white metal underneath. The surface of the white metal was covered with intricate and mysterious patterns. Zhuoan was pleasantly surprised. He knew that he had found the location of the passage, and he could vaguely sense the connection between him and the traces he had left behind on the metal. This should be the formation eye of Di Luo City's passageway. As long as I can break this formation eye, I will be able to connect to Di Luo City and teleport into Di Luo City. Wen's eyes brightened. He immediately sat down cross-legged and waved his hand to take out many formation discs. He planned to crack the formation core and connect to the passageway in Di Luo City. The restrictions around the Black Gold mountain range had already reached the second sky of Eternal Realm. But for Zhuoan, this restriction was not difficult. His spirit soul had broken through to the middle stage of the Dharma characteristic realm in the starlight world of the 7 emotions and 6 desires Saint Lord. His array Dao level had also risen. In the starlight world, his array Dao level had reached the 2nd heaven of the Eternal Realm. In addition, Zhuoan had found the array core, so it didn't take him too long to crack the array core. Very quickly. Soon, the array core was cracked. The silvery white metal emitted a blazing white light. But, the complicated patterns on the surface of the metal separated from the metal and hung in mid-air, forming a Daokong spirit array. Spirit array. A white beam of light shot out of the array, forming a white passageway that pierced through the restrictions of the Black Gold mountain range. It led to Di Luo City, the southernmost part of the Black Gold mountain range. Handsome Girl and the other 2, who were originally rushing to the south of the Black Gold mountain range, naturally noticed the white beam of light that suddenly appeared at the southern border. That's a passageway? Shen Yu's mouth was wide open as he said in disbelief. What's going on with the 7 city lords? Why did they open the southern passageway? Isn't that Zhuoan in the south? Jian Luo's expression changed drastically. Oh no. Let's hurry over. We can't let that Zhuoan enter the passageway and leave. Handsome Girl was the first to react. She used her movement technique to the extreme and turned into a series of after-images. In the blink of an eye, she disappeared thousands of miles away. Shen Yu and Jian Luo chased after her with all their might. However, the gap between them and Handsome Girl was too big. They couldn't catch up to her at all. Dong. When Handsome Girl rushed to the southern border, she happened to see a black-clad young man entering the white passageway. The endless white glow drowned the black-clad young man instantly. The moment the black-clad young man was teleported, his sharp gaze landed on Handsome Girl. Handsome Girl saw the coldness and mockery in the young man's eyes. Get back here. Handsome Girl shouted. Handsome Girl dashed into the white passageway like a madwoman. Terrifying energy exploded continuously in the air. The space around the white passageway was distorted and collapsed. Only unfortunately, she was still too late. The white passageway had completely disappeared before her eyes, and her attack had landed on empty air. When God Bless and Jian Luo arrived, they saw the southern border that was in ruins. There were also beautiful ladies who were standing not far away in a daze. As for the white passageway and Zhuoan that they expected, he wasn't there. Master Handsome Girl, that Zhuoan? Shen Yu asked carefully. He ran away. Come, follow me back to Clear Sky City. Send someone to Di Luo City immediately. We must stop this guy. And the 7 Castellans, they all deserve to die. Handsome Girl's eyes were bloodshot. She was furious and unwilling to accept the fact that the prey that was in her hands flew away just like that. She instinctively thought that the opening of the southern border's passageway must be the fault of the 7 Castellans. She said. Handsome Girl left the place immediately. She had no time to care about Shen Yu and Jian Luo who were still in a daze. At the moment, the 7 Castellans were still guarding the entrance of the passageway in the central square of Clear Sky City. Whoosh. However, Di Luo City's Castellan, Ling Luo, frowned slightly. He took out the communication jade talisman from his waist. His expression changed drastically after reading the message. Ling Luo, what happened? Chen Zhao and the other 6 castellans asked immediately when they saw Ling Luo's expression. Ling Luo's face was pale, and his limbs were shaking. He said, "There's news from Di Luo City." The passageway to Di Luo City opened all of a sudden. Someone left through the passageway in Wujin Mountain. What? The other 6 castellans were shocked. What's going on, Ling Luo? Di Luo City's passageway is in charge of Di Luo City. You're the main person in charge. Without you, it's impossible for the passageway to open. Why would the passageway open on its own? Chen Zhao asked calmly. Ling Luo was out of his wits. He smiled bitterly and said, "I don't know either. According to my subordinate's report, the person who came out should be Zhuoan. Zhuoan might have done something to the passageway. That D***M guy. If so, hurry up and give the order to seal off Di Luo City. We must not let Zhuoan leave Di Luo City," Chen Zhao said quickly. Ling Luolor then came back to his senses and quickly gave the order to seal off the city to the person in charge of Di Luo City. However, the message that he sent out was like a clay ox entering the sea. There was no reply at all. That Zhuoan should have already taken action, Chen Zhao said with a frown. What should we do? Ling Luo was really panicking. The negligence happened in Di Luo City. If they were to look into it, it would be Ling Luo's responsibility. By then, handsome girl might not let him go. Dawn. Just as Zhao wanted to speak, his expression suddenly changed drastically. He rapidly retreated. Only about an inch in front of his chest, a fair jade-like hand appeared and landed on his chest without a sound. Dawn Zhao gave a muffled groan and spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire person was smashed heavily onto the ground by the palm. Chapter 4297. The entire book. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. When Chen Zhao was severely injured by the sudden attack and fell to the ground, the other 6 castellans finally reacted. Initially, there was anger in their eyes. However, when they saw the person who attacked them, their anger was replaced by fear. Greetings, Lady Handsome Female Lead. The 6 castellans quickly knelt on one knee and greeted the beautiful lady who had just appeared in the sky above the square. Chen Zhao covered his chest and stood up forcefully. He then knelt on one knee awkwardly. "Do you know why I attacked you?" The lady was aggressive and her eyes were as cold as a knife. "Is it because of the sudden opening of the passageway in Di Luo City?" Chen Zhao asked carefully. He immediately recalled what Ling Luo said earlier. Zhuoan had really escaped from the lady's hands. "It seems like you're not stupid." The lady scoffed and didn't attack again. She looked at the other 6 castellans coldly and said, "Where's the castellan of Di Luo City?" Ling Luo's heart skipped a beat. He walked out submissively with a flattering smile on his face. "You're in charge of Di Luo City. Now that the passageway in Di Luo City has been reopened, Zhuoan has escaped through the passageway in Di Luo City. Can you bear the responsibility?" the lady said with murderous intent. Ling Luo's face was covered in cold sweat. He quickly kowtowed and begged for mercy. "Kill yourself to atone for your sins. Don't force me to do it. And the 6 of you, immediately follow me to Di Luo City. You absolutely can't allow Zhuoan to escape," the young woman ordered resolutely. Chen Zhao and the other castellans naturally didn't dare to disobey the lady's order. Only Ling Luo's face was pale. He kept kowtowing and begging for mercy, hoping that the lady would give him a chance to atone for his sins. "Jian Luo, you take care of Ling Luo. The rest of you, follow me to Di Luo City." The lady ignored Ling Luo, who kept begging for mercy. Instead, she brought God Bless and the other 6 castellans out of Zhaotian City quickly and headed to Di Luo City, which was at the south of Wujin mountain range. Not long after the lady and the rest left, Jian Luo chased after them expressionlessly while holding Ling Luo's head. In Zhaotian City, the lady left in a hurry. She caught the attention of the experts who were watching her. "That can't be." The handsome female actually returned empty-handed. With her strength, Taking down that Zhuowen shouldn't be a problem. Inside a luxurious inn in Clear Sky City, Old Man Ming Deng, Blood Beauty, and Yun Chunzi were gathered together. Blood Beauty frowned slightly, her eyes filled with dissatisfaction. The direction that the girl left in should be Di Luo City. According to my informant's report, the passage to Di Luo City suddenly opened just now. From this, it could be seen that Zhuowen did not know what kind of dog. Shit luck. He actually accidentally opened the passageway to Di Luo City. They fled to Di Luo City, Old Man Ming Deng said calmly. This kid's luck is pretty good, and his strength is pretty good as well. If he hadn't killed Wei Yuntian, I would have taken him in as my disciple, Yun Chunzi said indifferently. This kid has already become the target of public criticism. This is a hot potato. If you dare to take him as your disciple, then you'll have to face everyone's revenge. The old man cast a sidelong glance at Yun Chunzi. Yun Chunzi smiled bitterly. I'm just saying. I really don't have the guts to accept him. Let's also go to Di Luo City. It's not bad to go and watch the show. When the girl takes down Zhuowen, we only need to ask the girl for this kid. She won't dare to not hand him over, Old Man Ming Deng said calmly with a faint smile. Yun Chunzi and Blood Beauty nodded. The three of them turned into a wisp of smoke and quietly left this place. At the same time that Old Man Ming Deng and the others left, the other experts hidden in the dark also quietly left Zhaotian City. Damn it. What's wrong with this Zhuowen? Why didn't he use the Eyes of the Void? If he had used the Eyes of the Void earlier, wouldn't he have been able to escape earlier? In another part of Zhaotian City, Shuju roared in exasperation. Ziyu, the middle-aged man, the old man, and the mysterious woman wearing a veil were all gathered in this luxurious private room. The mysterious woman's eyebrows were slightly furrowed. She was also quite surprised by Zhuowen's actions. Let's go to Di Luo City first, the mysterious woman said. Shuju and Ziyu both calmed down. They glanced at the mysterious woman and nodded. The only thing they could do now was to go to Di Luo City and observe the situation. They only hoped that Zhuowen wouldn't court death. Di Luo Square, the core of Di Luo City, was completely in ruins. Corpses were scattered all around the square. In the center of the square, a figure as straight as a pole slowly walked out of the square. Di Luo City's imperial guards surrounded the square from afar. No one dared to go forward and stop this figure. And this figure that was targeted by everyone was Zhuowen. After he arrived at Di Luo Square from Di Luo City's passageway, he was immediately attacked by Di Luo City's imperial guards. With Zhuowen's current strength, no matter how many imperial guards there were, they couldn't pose any threat to him. In just a few rounds, more than half of the imperial guards were dead or injured. The head of the imperial guards was also beheaded by Zhuowen. The remaining imperial guards were scared out of their wits. They didn't dare to approach Zhuowen anymore. Brother Duan hasn't replied to me. Did something happen to him? Zhuowen took out his communication jade talisman and found that Duan Jipeng hadn't replied to him. He had a bad premonition in his heart. He no longer tried to mediate with Di Luo City's imperial guards. Instead, he rushed to the inn where Duan Jipeng was in seclusion. After asking the terrified shopkeeper, Zhuowen found out that Duan Jipeng had left the inn yesterday and hadn't returned yet. "En. Brother Duan replied to me." Zhuowen suddenly took out the communication jade talisman from his waist. This jade talisman was still flashing. Duan Jipeng had replied to him. He opened the jade talisman and his expression changed. "I am Nuer clan's third clan leader, Nu Jun. Your friend Duan Jipeng is in my hands. If you want him to live, stay in Di Luo City obediently and wait for us to come over. Otherwise, we will kill Duan Jipeng immediately." The message in the jade talisman wasn't long, but it was like a heavy blow to Zhuowen. Brother Duan has really fallen into the hands of Nuer clan. Zhuowen's expression was terrible. He naturally knew about Nu Jun. Duan Jipeng had mentioned her to him before. There were 3 clan leaders in Nuer clan. Nu Jun was one of the 3 most powerful people in Nuer clan. She was extremely powerful and terrifying. Jiaotian City is in the northernmost part of Wujin mountain range, while Di Luo City is in the southernmost part. With Nu Jun's speed, it should take about 2 hours to get here. I still have time. Zhuowen's eyes slowly narrowed. After sending a message to Duan Jipeng's communication Jade Talisman, he rushed to Di Luo Square again. On Di Luo Square, the few remaining Imperial guards were once again destroyed by Zhuowen. In the end, Zhuowen picked up a half-dead leader and said indifferently, "Now, I'll ask you a question, and you'll answer it. You can choose not to cooperate, but of course, I can also choose to kill you." The Imperial Guard captain was so scared that he was trembling. He said in a trembling voice, I will definitely answer truthfully. Where is the formation eye of Di Luo City's great defensive array? Zhuowen asked expressionlessly. The captain wanted to say something but stopped. However, after seeing Zhuowen's cold eyes, he was so scared that he didn't dare to hide anything. He told Zhuowen everything about the formation eye of the great defensive array. Chapter 4298. The whole book Divine Soul Supreme's latest chapter. After learning the location of the formation eye, Zhuowen casually threw the guard captain aside and stepped into Di Luo City's City Lord's mansion. According to the guard captain, the formation eye of Di Luo City's City Lord's mansion was located in the underground secret room of the City Lord's mansion. Generally, the formation eye was controlled by City Lord Ling Luo. Since Ling Luo had left Di Luo City, the one in charge of the formation eye was the only formation master in Di Luo City, Zhu Yuan. Boom. After Zhuowen smashed the stone door in the deepest part of the City Lord's mansion, he found that behind the stone door was a staircase leading to the underground. He looked at the pitch-black staircase, and a mocking smile appeared on his face. He took a step forward and walked into the staircase. However, as soon as he entered the staircase, the stone walls on both sides of the passage suddenly cracked open, and dark green fog gushed out, filling the entire passage in an instant. At the same time, cold arrows shot out from both sides of the stone walls. Zhuowen used the Hongmeng body technique, and his whole person was as ethereal as smoke. The dense arrows on both sides of the stone walls couldn't get close to him. The billowing poisonous fog gushing out from the stone walls was filtered by Zhuowen's Hongmeng divine power, so it didn't have much effect on him. Insignificant skill, Zhuowen sneered, and suddenly sped up, rushing into the depths of the passage. At the end of the passage, there was a sealed stone room. In the stone room, an old man in a long robe sat upright on a praying mat. In front of the old man, traces of formation Dao flowed, forming a clear image. This image recorded the scene of various parts of the passage. At this moment, in these images, a black shadow was rushing into the depths of the passage. Who the hell is this guy? How dare he trespass into the City Lord's mansion? Does he want to die? The old man's eyes were solemn, and he couldn't help but curse. The old man was the formation master of the City Lord's mansion, Zhu Yuan. He was a formation master of the Eternal First Heaven, and his status in Di Luo City was extremely high, second only to Ling Luo. However, he spent most of his time in seclusion beneath the city governor's estate, living in seclusion. As a result, he was still unaware of what was happening in the outside world. When Zhuowen had broken into the underground, he had thought that Zhuowen was just an ordinary thief. However, as Zhuowen continued to charge through the various mechanisms underground, the old man's expression turned increasingly grim. He no longer dared to underestimate Zhuowen. What? This guy is also a divine array master. Even a first heavenly layer eternal level restriction can't stop him. In the image, when Zhuowen broke through the attack ban in the deepest part of the ground, the Zhu Yuan finally couldn't sit still. He stood up abruptly and looked at the approaching figure in horror. Boom! Suddenly, there was a violent tremor in the closed secret room where the Zhu Yuan was located. A huge crater suddenly appeared on the stone slab above the secret chamber. Smoke and dust filled the room. Amidst the billowing smoke and dust, a pillar-like figure leaped down and appeared in the secret chamber. The Zhu Yuan looked at the young man in front of him, and his pupils shrank. He exclaimed, "How is that possible? You are still in the passage. How did you get here so quickly?" Zhuowen looked calm, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, and said, "Look at the image behind you again." The Zhu Yuan's throat rolled, and he turned his head stiffly and looked at the image behind him. In the image, Zhuowen's figure was still there, and he was still struggling to break through the passage. Illusion. The Zhu Yuan's mouth was full of bitterness. He immediately knew that the image had been tampered with by Zhuowen. All he saw was an illusion. Are you a divine array master of the eternal second heavenly layer? The Zhu Yuan finally faced the young man in front of him and asked the doubts in his heart. In his view, this child can crack the mechanisms and restrictions he arranged in the passage in such a short time, and also create illusions that even he can't recognize. This child's level of formation must be above him. Zhuowen nodded slightly and said, "If you don't want to die, leave here now." Thump. Suddenly, the Zhu Yuan knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Zhuowen. "Diren, can you accept me as a disciple and teach me a move and a half? My formation has been stuck in the eternal first heavenly layer for too long, and I have been unable to break through." Zhuowen was speechless for a while. He didn't expect that the Zhu Yuan suddenly wanted to worship him as a teacher. He looked at the hopeful Zhu Yuan and did not think that the latter was playing tricks. This person should be really fanatical about the formation, so when he learned that Zhuowen's formation level was so powerful, he immediately put down his body and wanted to worship him as a teacher. Zhuowen did not immediately refuse, but said with deep meaning, "Next, it depends on your own performance. Now I need to find the eye of the Di Luo City's city protection formation. The eye of the formation is here, Diren, follow me." Seeing that Zhuowen did not refuse, the Zhu Yuan was overjoyed and led Zhuowen into the depths of the secret room. There is a larger stone room in the depths of the secret room. The stone room is empty and there is no debris. There is only a very complicated formation on the ground in the center. Diren, this is the core imprint of the Di Luo City's city protection formation. It is the work of the old man's life. The Zhu Yuan pointed to the formation in the center of the stone room, with a touch of pride in his eyes. Obviously, he was very proud of the imprint of the formation he had built. Zhuowen glanced at it, shook his head, and said, "Crude. Whether it is the construction technique or the logic of the formation, it is too rough. Originally, this formation could be stronger, but because of you, it can only barely reach the level of the eternal first heavenly layer." The Zhu Yuan's face was stiff. His proudest masterpiece was criticized by Zhuowen, and his old face suddenly couldn't hang up. He was also a little unconvinced. When he just wanted to refute, Zhuowen had already waved his hand to summon a formation plate and began to outline and modify the imprint of the formation in front of him. "Hey! This!" The Zhu Yuan, who was still a little unconvinced, became more and more surprised when he saw Zhuowen constantly modifying his formation. Finally, the whole person was completely obsessed with Zhuowen's technique and perfect construction method. When Zhuowen completely perfected and modified his city protection formation, the Zhu Yuan was completely convinced by Zhuowen. In his heart, he admired Zhuowen even more. Diren is worthy of being called Diren. Just a few strokes have modified my crude formation to such perfection, and it has become the top of the eternal first layer. The great formation of the peak. The Zhu Yuan praised from the bottom of his heart. Zhuowen's face was dignified. His hands did not stop. He continued to outline and modify the formation. He intended to completely transform the city protection formation of the Di Luo city into the eternal second heavenly layer. And he also added a variety of formations to it, which together formed a very complex and terrifying combination of formations. Zhuowen was completely dumbstruck. He was truly amazed by Zhuowen's uncanny craftsmanship in setting things up. When Zhuowen finally stopped, the formation in the stone room finally looked brand new and underwent an unprecedented transformation. The eternal second heavenly layer level formation, and it's a combination of formations, which combines attack, defense, illusion, curse, weakness and amplification and other attributes, and all of them are eternal second heavenly layer level formations. The Zhu Yuan only felt that the sky was spinning. The formation in front of him was simply a masterpiece for him. Even if he died immediately now, he had no regrets. Chapter 4299. Sir. Please take me in as your disciple. The Zhu Yuan knelt in front of Zhuowen again after he was amazed by Zhuowen's superb formation skills. He looked at Zhuowen with fanaticism in his eyes. Zhuowen facepalmed. He was helpless against the Zhu Yuan's brute force. We'll talk about it later. I have something to do next. If you get involved with me now, your life might be in danger, Zhuowen said calmly. The Zhu Yuan was slightly disappointed when he saw Zhuowen's firm attitude. However, he soon became more attentive. Xian, however, he wanted to impress Zhuowen with his performance. Zhuowen checked the core formation in the stone room again. After confirming that there were no mistakes, he modified it to make it perfect. When Zhuowen and the Zhu Yuan were still deep in the stone room, Enyu Jun brought God Bless, Jian Luo, and the 6 city masters to Di Luo City. Enyu Jun did not restrain her powerful aura at all. Instead, it spread out wantonly. Many of the cultivators in Di Luo City turned pale when they felt the terrifying aura. They looked at Enyu Jun and the others who suddenly arrived in fear. When they landed in Di Luo Square, their faces changed when they saw the ruins of the square that was full of devastation. It seems that Zhuowen had a conflict with the Imperial Army of Di Luo City as soon as he left Di Luo Square. Master Enyu Jun, Zhuowen can't be waiting for us in Di Luo City without caring about his life for Duanjipeng, right? God Bless pouted. The 6 city masters nodded secretly. In their opinion, no matter how close Zhuowen and Duanjipeng were, how could this man really wait for death when he was facing a situation where he would die? Enyu Jun frowned slightly. She did not speak. A mysterious purple light gushed out from between her eyebrows. Her strong consciousness swept through the entire Di Luo City instantly. This man didn't leave. He's in Di Luo City. I can sense that his aura hasn't dissipated, Enyu Jun said calmly. God Bless and the rest looked shocked as soon as they heard that. They didn't expect that Zhuowen would be willing to give up his life for Duanjipeng. They really couldn't understand. Zhuowen, I know you're still in Di Luo City. Come out, so I don't have to kill Duanjipeng, the woman said slowly. The cold voice spread out in Di Luo City. Everyone in Di Luo City could hear it clearly. Emperor in Luo Cheng, no one dared to say a word. They looked at each other and wondered if Zhuowen would still dare to come out with a powerhouse like the handsome female lead. Time passed slowly. Di Luo City was terrifyingly quiet. Everyone's breathing became cautious. Female Jun stood silently in the ruins of the square, his eyes narrowed as he stared at the city lord's mansion at the end of the square. She, after signaling to God Bless, Jian Luo, and the 6 castellans, God Bless, Jian Luo, and the other 6 castellans understood what he meant. They flew to the Castellan mansion and hid in 8 different locations. If anyone dared to come out of the city lord's mansion, the 8 of them would be able to take them down immediately. Thud. After a long time, clear footsteps came from the Castellan mansion. It was getting closer and closer as someone walked out of the Castellan mansion. Female Jun squinted as she fixed her gaze on the silhouette that was walking out of the Castellan mansion slowly. She smirked. Can you ask the 8 of them who are hiding around the Castellan mansion to leave? Otherwise, even if I die, I'll make sure that you won't get a single piece of the 7 emotions 6 desires saint's treasure. Trust me, I can definitely do it. The moment Zhuowen was about to step out of the Castellan mansion, he stopped and spoke slowly in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. The handsome female lead frowned slightly. She hesitated for a moment and sent a voice transmission to God Bless and the rest, asking them to retreat. The 8 of them who were initially ready to attack Zhuowen dared not disobey the handsome female lead's order, although they were unwilling to do so. They left their hiding spot and returned to the handsome female lead's side. You can come out now, the handsome female lead said calmly. In the city. At the entrance of the Castellan mansion, the slender silhouette walked out slowly. It was a young man who was not considered handsome but was very pleasing to the eye. You're Zhuowen, aren't you? Although I've seen your silhouette in the video, this is our first time meeting face to face. Let's get to know each other. I'm the handsome female lead of the newer clan's 3 clans. The handsome female lead's beautiful eyes fell on Zhuowen. Her voice was clear but filled with arrogance. Zhuowen was expressionless as he said calmly, I don't like to talk nonsense and be polite. I stayed behind to wait for you because of Brother Duan. Now, where is he? The handsome female lead smirked slightly and said proudly, Zhuowen, I'm sure you know the situation you're in now. Now, you've become the target of everyone. Not only are the experts from the newer domain eyeing you covetously, but many experts from the supreme domains who are hiding in the dark are also eyeing you. As the saying goes, a wise man submits to circumstances. You're considered a talent. If you hand over the map fragment and the treasure of the Saint Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires, and if you're willing to serve the newer clan forever, I can represent the newer clan to save your life. Of course, I can also let Duan Jipeng go. Zhuowen said coldly, didn't I say that I don't like to talk nonsense? I don't like to talk nonsense. Where is Brother Duan now? I need to see him before I can consider what you've said. How dare you? How dare you speak so arrogantly in front of the handsome female lead? Kneel down and speak. God bless scolded loudly. You're just a dog. Do your job and don't bark at people. Zhuowen glanced at God bless indifferently. You're asking for death. Shenyu was so angry that his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. A powerful aura surged out of him as he was about to attack Zhuowen. However, Zhen Luo stopped him. Don't be rash. The handsome female lead is negotiating with this guy now. If you want to die, go over and have a look. Zhen Luo reminded him. God bless calmed down. He glared at Zhuowen coldly and withdrew his aura. The handsome female lead was emotionless. She said slowly, you're willing to stay behind and wait for us for Duan Jipeng. It's clear that you're a loyal person. To show my sincerity, I'll show you that Duan Jipeng is indeed in my hand. I've already stated my conditions. This is your only choice. If you don't agree to it, I'll have to use force. Both you and Duan Jipeng will have to die. Then, the handsome female lead signaled God bless with her eyes. Although God bless was pissed, he dared not disobey the handsome female lead's order. He took out the half-dead Duan Jipeng from his storage device. At this moment, Duan Jipeng was in an extremely miserable state. He was riddled with injuries and dripping with blood. His limbs, shoulder blades, waist, and other parts of his body had been penetrated by some sort of torture tool that flowed with brilliance, and it fiercely restrained all his mobility. Duan Jipeng was panting. Perhaps God bless's violent behavior had awakened him from his groggy state. He forced his heavy eyelids open and looked around. His body stiffened when he saw Zhuowen in front of him. Chapter 4300. Brother Zhuo. Run! Run! Duan Jipeng screamed at the top of his lungs. However, his voice was hoarse as he struggled. However, he could not move at all as his body was sealed. Slap! God bless smirked and slapped Duan Jipeng hard. He said, you're already in this state, and you're still struggling. Behave yourself. Barf! Duan Jipeng was already severely injured. He became delirious after being slapped by God bless. He became muddle-headed. God bless, on the other hand, glared at Zhuowen provocatively and slapped Duan Jipeng again with a cruel smile on his face. Don't kill him. The pretty girl reminded him coldly. God bless immediately said, don't worry, lady pretty girl. I know what I'm doing. The pretty girl nodded and looked at Zhuowen. She said, I'll give you 10 breaths to make your choice. If you agree to my choice, I'll swear to heaven that I'll save your life. Of course, you can choose not to work with me. Of course, you should know the consequences. The pretty girl's eyes were filled with mockery. She had watched Zhuowen's battle and knew that his god's soul was around the middle stage of cosmic dharma. Unfortunately, this guy's most powerful technique was not a threat to her. Moreover, she had 8 powerful cosmic dharma powerhouses around her. Zhuowen would not be able to run away now. 10, 9, 5, 4, 2, 1. 10 breaths are up. Make your choice. The pretty girl said coldly. Zhuowen sighed softly and said, do I have any other choice now? The pretty girl's smile grew wider. She knew that Zhuowen's words meant that he had decided to give in. Now, Give me the Saint Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires treasure and the incomplete map. The pretty girl said happily. Sure, but for Brother Duan's safety, I'd like to exchange the treasure for the person. Zhuowen looked helpless. He looked at Duan Jipeng, who was in God Bless's hands, with worry and concern in his eyes. The pretty girl thought for a moment and said with a nod, sure. But before that, I want to see if the item is real or not. Zhuowen didn't hesitate. He took out a storage ring and a map fragment. He opened his right hand and said, the 7 emotions 6 desires Saint Lord's items are all in this storage ring. This map fragment was also obtained from this storage ring. I think this map fragment can be used as a reference. Can't you tell if it's real or fake? There's also a teleportation mark in this divine ring. It's said that it can teleport you to the treasure trove of the 7 emotions 6 desires Saint Lord. The female lead's eyes were very sharp. She glanced at the map fragment and immediately determined that this map fragment was real. She had also heard from the great clan leader Huang Ju that the 7 emotions 6 desires Saint Lord was an ancient Starlight Realm expert and had his own Starlight Realm. The Starlight world of the Ni ancient Starlight Masters was hidden and powerful. Ordinary people couldn't enter at all. One must have the token of the Starlight World's master to be able to teleport in. Zhuowen's words happened to verify what Huang Ju had said. The doubt in the female lead's heart was completely dispelled. She believed that Zhuowen was really going to work with her. This kid is still inexperienced. How can he believe a verbal agreement like this? It won't be too late for me to make my move after I get the item. By then, I'll capture this kid and bring him back to Newer City for the great clan leader to deal with. That fragmented map fragment is a hot potato. I'll just hand it over voluntarily. I'll just give it to the light lamp old man and the others. That way, the Newer clan won't be dragged into this mess. The female lead thought about the next step of the plan in her heart. She signaled to God Bless with her eyes and asked him to bring Duan Jipeng to Zhuowen. God Bless was very cautious. He knew that Zhuowen's ability was extraordinary. Therefore, he didn't dare to trade with Zhuowen alone. Instead, he asked Zhen Luo to hold Duan Jipeng hostage and walked to Zhuowen slowly. Give me the item. God Bless glanced at Zhuowen in fear. He held Duan Jipeng hostage with his left hand and opened his right hand to ask for the fragmented map and the divine ring from Zhuowen. Zhuowen was expressionless as he placed the fragmented map and the divine ring in God Bless's right palm. Meanwhile, God Bless and Zhen Luo let go of their hands that were holding Duan Jipeng hostage. However, the moment they let go of Duan Jipeng, both of them suddenly sensed an extremely intense killing intent. They retreated without hesitation. At that moment, Zhuowen made his move. Over 10 God Soul Sword essences that he had prepared beforehand surged out and charged at God Bless and Zhen Luo. Zhen Luo flicked the sword case on his back with his finger. A sword gleam appeared around him to block the God Soul Sword essences around him. On the other hand, God Bless's reaction was slower. The moment he was about to perform his cosmic form, the God Soul Sword essences penetrated deep into his glabella one after another. God Bless shrieked in agony. He covered his glabella with both of his hands while his body twitched. He forced his eyes open and saw Zhuowen's extremely cold and indifferent face. Zhuowen lifted his foot and stomped hard on God Bless's face. A terrifying force was transmitted from his foot and God Bless's head was stomped hard on the ground. Rumble. Terrifying stomping noises came continuously from Zhuowen's foot. Meanwhile, God Bless's head was crushed before he could even shriek in agony. Meanwhile, his God Soul was completely burned by the God Soul Sword essences. That was fun. It's my turn now. Zhuowen retracted his right foot and put Duan Jipeng into the Great World directly. Meanwhile, Zhuowen put the divine ring and fragmented map in God Bless's hand back into his sleeve. After doing that, he retreated to the back lightly to create a distance between himself and Handsome Girl and the rest. All of this happened too suddenly. No one had expected that Zhuowen would suddenly go on a killing spree during the exchange. Handsome Girl and the rest only reacted when Zhuowen retreated to a certain distance away. You must have a death wish. How dare you kill someone in front of me? Handsome Girl was enraged. She knew that Zhuowen had tricked her. She immediately unleashed her cosmic dharma and charged at Zhuowen. Handsome Girl's cosmic dharma was more massive and solid than an ordinary cosmic dharma. It looked like a woman with 3 heads and 6 arms with a human head and a snake's body. The 3 female heads were beautiful with different expressions. One was calm, one was angry, and one was smiling. Meanwhile, the 6 slender hands were holding 6 different dharma instruments. She's worthy of being an expert at the pinnacle of the cosmic dharma tower. What a powerful aura! The 6 city lords' faces turned extremely pale when they sensed the terrifying cosmic dharma aura unleashed by Handsome Girl. They retreated by instinct and did not attack Zhuowen together with Handsome Girl. The 6 of them were not dumb. They knew that although Zhuowen had used a trick to kill God Bless instantly, his ability should be equivalent to a mid-level cosmic dharma. If he fought with his life on the line, although he could not do anything to Handsome Girl, he could take them down with him. They were not from the newer clan. Naturally, they did not have the determination to die for the newer clan. Rumble. Rumble. Handsome Girl's ability was too terrifying. As soon as her cosmic dharma appeared, the entire atmosphere became much more oppressive. Zhuowen's pupils dilated as his heart raced. It was his first time facing a pinnacle cosmic dharma expert. He did not expect a pinnacle cosmic dharma expert to be so much more powerful than a mid-level cosmic dharma expert. They were not on the same level at all. Die. Handsome Girl's face was ferocious. She was almost driven mad. As soon as she charged, her right palm blasted across the air. The palm was like countless meteorites falling. Its aura was so terrifying that it felt like the entire world was going to collapse and crack. The entire sky became a lot darker because of this palm. Chapter 4301. Rumble. The giant palm that blotted out the sky pressed down from the sky. Countless air currents reversed, and a terrifying clattering sound rang out. Di Luo City was completely suppressed by the aura of the giant palm. Most of the cultivators couldn't bear the terrifying aura of this giant palm. They bled from their 7 orifices and fainted from serious injuries. Zhuowen snorted, his face pale from the pressure of the giant palm. After all, he was bearing most of the pressure from the Handsome Girl. Zhuowen took a deep breath and flipped his right hand. An array flag appeared in his right palm. Great Array, rise. Zhuowen took out the array flag. His left hand formed a seal, and his right hand waved the array flag. Lines of array runes jumped out from his hand and merged with the array flag. Shwa! The array flag burst out with colorful glaze-like light. Then, deep under Zhuowen's feet, tens of thousands of rays of light suddenly surged. In the depths of the City Lord's mansion, in a stone room, the core array that had been modified by Zhuowen long ago emitted a blazing light and began to operate rapidly. The magnificent and unparalleled aura splashed out like water from a broken water bottle, breaking through the ground and going straight to the 9th heaven. Suddenly, the entire Di Luo city was wrapped in endless rays of light. The aura of the Great Array spread out wantonly in the city like streamers, filling the entire city. Since the giant palm pressing down from the sky was immediately blocked by the terrifying array of tens of thousands of rays of light. The Handsome Girl rushing towards Zhuowen was also blocked by countless energy ripples of the Great Array. She couldn't help but stop. The second sky of Eternal Realm Great Array, the Handsome Girl's pupils shrank. She looked at the barrier formed by tens of thousands of rays of light in disbelief. She immediately recognized this aura. Only the second sky of Eternal Realm Great Array could have such power and powerful aura. At this moment, the Handsome Girl was really shocked. She looked at Zhuowen, her eyes completely calm. The Di Luo city's Great Array should only be at the first sky of Eternal Realm. Did you do this? The Handsome Girl stared coldly at Zhuowen and asked. Wen's expression was calm, and he didn't answer the woman's question. Instead, his gaze was locked onto Jian Luo, who was blocked by the Grand Array. He knew that there wasn't much time left. Only by weakening the forces around the handsome female lead as soon as possible could he have a better chance of escaping this place. Whoosh! Without making a sound, Zhuowen shot towards Jian Luo, who was blocked by the grand spell formation's energy ripples. Jian Luo naturally sensed the killing intent in Zhuowen's eyes and couldn't help but raise his head. When he met Zhuowen's cold gaze, his heart couldn't help but tremble. One sword severing spring water. Jian Luo lightly tapped the sword chest on his back with his finger, and a wisp of sword light flashed out from the gap in the sword chest. It was like a soundless sword light had lightly tapped the spring water. It was soft and soundless, yet pitilessly sharp, and it contained the energy of the Judo Dao that nourished everything silently and grew again with the spring breeze. Zhuowen revealed a mocking smile as he gently waved the array flag in his right hand. Rays of multicolored light surrounded his body as he disappeared from his original spot. Sword Luo's sword light, which was ready to strike, slashed through the air. Jian Luo's expression changed slightly. He immediately heard the terrifying sound of something breaking through the air behind him. He quickly turned around and formed a sword seal with his right hand. Endless sword chi swept out and blasted behind him. Rip! Sword the chi collided with some kind of energy, and a sharp sound like cloth being torn apart rang out. When Jian Luo turned around to look, he was completely stunned. This was because he discovered that the one attacking him from behind wasn't Zhuowen himself, but the attack formed by several rays of multicolored light in the grand formation. Not good. Jian Luo couldn't help but recall the mocking smile on Zhuowen's face when he rushed over. This kid had planned all of this from the start. Think. At this point, Jian Luo turned around again and was shocked to discover that Zhuowen had appeared several meters behind him without him noticing. Unfortunately, it's already too late. After saying this coldly, several rays of divine soul sword intent that he had prepared earlier instantly sank into the space between Jian Luo's eyebrows. Surging transcendence flames suddenly ignited and began to recklessly burn Jian Luo's physical body and divine soul. Ah! Jian Luo shrieked in agony and quickly retreated. His cultivation base was much more powerful than Shen Yu's as he was already at the mid-stage of cosmic Dharma. He was barely able to resist the Transcendence Flame's invasion and the Divine Soul Sword intense destruction. However, even so, he was still in a terrible state, and his consciousness was beginning to blur. I want you dead. Second sword, sun and star slash. Jian Luo ignored his injuries and flicked his finger again. The gap in the sword case on his back widened, and a sword gleam that was even more dazzling than before shot out. Within the sword gleam was a divine sword that was covered with sun and star patterns. Sword. The moment the sword appeared, it was as if heaven, earth, sun, and stars could not compete with it. It was too dazzling and blinding. At this moment, any light would pale in comparison to this sword gleam. Between heaven and earth, this sword gleam was the only thing that shone brightly. Zhuowen's eyes narrowed. The sword's power was so terrifying that it made Zhuowen feel a strong sense of danger. If I were to fight you head-on, perhaps this sword would injure me. Unfortunately, this grand formation is my home ground. Everything is under my control, Zhuo said. Wen waved the formation flag in his right hand, and rays of light covered his body. He disappeared from where he was again, causing Jian Luo's second divine power to miss. Die. Mo's voice rang above Jian Luo's head slowly. Jian Luo forced his eyes open. His consciousness was fading, and he could barely see that Zhuowen had appeared above him under the blazing light. Zhuowen held the Taiyu sacred sword in his right hand. His gaze was cold and calm. He lifted the Taiyu sacred sword gently, and 3 types of sword chi of purple, black, and gold ignited on the sword. Then, he slashed between Jian Luo's eyebrows. Saw Jian Luo's lips curled into a bitter smile as he muttered softly. His voice was so soft that even Zhuowen could not hear him clearly. I can't believe that I still have to use my last sword. I thought I would use this sword in a fierce battle, but I can't believe that I have no choice but to use it when I'm in the most difficult situation of my life. Third sword slashing self. A faint sigh was heard, and the sword case on Jian Luo's back exploded completely. A strange sword that was covered in countless black patterns shot out. Eerie, the strange and evil sword chi erupted like a tidal wave, causing Zhuowen's Taiyu sacred sword to stop in its tracks. Then, Zhuowen was shocked to discover that the strange and evil divine sword was not slashing at him. Instead, It pierced through Jian Luo's Qianling acupoint and pierced through his entire body. In the end, Jian Luo closed his eyes and completely absorbed the evil divine sword into his body. The terrifying and evil sword qi exploded in all directions like water splashing everywhere. Zhuowen's eyes narrowed, and he quickly distanced himself from Jian Luo. When he retreated to a certain distance, he discovered that after Jian Luo was pierced through by the evil divine sword, his entire body was enveloped by pitch-black and evil sword qi. The pitch-black sword qi was densely packed together, forming an oval-shaped sword qi egg. Thump, 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 thump. Chapter 4302. What the hell is this thing? Zhuowen frowned slightly. He looked strangely at the round egg, which was constantly beating, and felt a little suffocated in his heart. Sword Jian Luo's last divine ability was so strange that it gave Zhuowen a very ominous premonition. Jian Luo has used the third sword. Zhuowen, you deserve to die. Seeing Jian Luo completely enveloped by the evil sword qi, the girl's pretty face changed greatly. She no longer held back, and the 6 arms of the huge Dharma idol blasted out one after another, sending out dazzling attacks like falling rain. The rays of multicolored light that were blocking the young woman's path were all shattered, and the young woman rushed towards Zhuo at an extremely fast speed. Zhuowen's eyes were calm. The girl's strength was indeed strong, but Zhuowen's great array was not that simple. This, however, he was only able to unleash a portion of the power of the complex combination of many great formations. Zhuowen formed a seal with his right hand, and once again took out the array flag, activating all the great arrays within it. First in an instant, more rays of light of different colors gushed out from the great array. The second heavenly layer eternal realm great arrays, which were originally hidden within the great array and had functions of illusion, attack, interference, and so on, all erupted at once. Illusory images of large formations erupted from the core, causing the power of this large formation to skyrocket to an extremely terrifying level. Originally the girl, who was rapidly approaching Zhuowen, obviously did not expect that there were so many other great arrays hidden within the great array. For a moment, she was shaken by the various great arrays, and couldn't help but retreat. Fifth, the illusory formations within the grand formation had a significant effect on her, causing her eyes to flicker between confusion and clarity. At the same time, she had to deal with the powerful attacks from the multicolored lights that were everywhere in the grand formation, exhausting her to the point where she was unable to attack Zhuowen for the time being. It's over. We can't even retreat. At the edge of the great array, the 6 city lords were trembling with fear. They joined forces to resist the great array's attacks in a low-key manner. Now Zhuowen was going all out, activating all the great arrays. The pressure on them increased, and they could only barely hold on. Dong dong dong. Black inside the perverted egg, the shocking heartbeat became more and more intense, as if a heart was going to jump out at any moment. The ominous premonition in Zhuowen's heart grew even stronger. He knew that he couldn't stay here for long and should leave immediately. With the young lady's strength, this great array may not be able to stop her for long. We have to leave now. Zhuowen looked at the female lead who was gradually waking up not far away. In his heart, he thought that after this female lead completely woke up, this array might not be able to stop her again. At this point, Zhuowen no longer hesitated and quickly entered the City Lord's mansion. Behind the underground stone chamber of the City Lord's mansion, there was a teleportation array that led to a valley 8,000 miles west of the Golden Crow mountain range. This transmission array was originally the retreat of the Zhu Yuan secretly left here. Later, in order to be able to worship Zhuowen as a teacher, the Zhu Yuan was extremely attentive, and also revealed this retreat. When Zhuowen returned to the underground stone room, Zhu Yuan greeted him and looked at Zhuowen with more and more fanatical eyes. You are indeed master. Such a complex combination array, you can use it like an arm. This disciple admires you to the extreme, Zhu Yuan said fanatically. Zhuowen was speechless. This Zhu Yuan was indeed a fanatical lunatic who only had eyes for arrays. His focus was always from the perspective of arrays. If ordinary people, shouldn't they be shocked by Zhuowen's great strength? And the Zhu Yuan saw Zhuowen's method of using the combination array. Zhu Yuan, Activate the transmission array in the stone chamber. Let's leave here. Zhuowen ordered Zhu Yuan. Zhu Yuan naturally did not dare to be negligent. He hurriedly entered the stone chamber and began to activate the transmission array that he secretly tinkered with in the past. While Zhuowen took out a humanoid puppet from the outside world. He used the primordial grand mist chance disguise technique to make the puppet look exactly like him. Even the puppet's aura was imitating his. This humanoid puppet was Xiao Hei's masterpiece. This guy usually used those precious ores to forge all kinds of humanoid puppets in addition to cultivating and swallowing ores. This humanoid puppet is the highest masterpiece of Xiao Hei. Its cultivation base is extremely powerful and has reached the peak of the great calamity of the universe. The strength of the peak. After Zhuowen dressed the humanoid puppet perfectly, he gave the humanoid puppet an order to return to the City Lord's residence and sit cross-legged in the lobby of the City Lord's residence. The formation flag of the large combination array in the Di Luo city was handed over to the puppet by Zhuowen. In addition, Zhuowen also hid dozens of soul sword intents in the humanoid puppet. After doing this, Zhuowen stepped into the transmission array with Zhu Yuan after ensuring that it was foolproof. With a flash of brilliance, the two disappeared from the stone chamber. While the transmission array hidden in the dark compartment dissipated on its own after the transmission light faded, leaving no trace. Boom, boom, boom. The girl's eyes had completely regained their clarity. Her eyes were filled with anger. With a shout, the cosmic avatar erupted with extremely terrifying energy without reservation. It began to destroy the rays of light in the teleportation array and began to approach the City Lord's mansion. This time, I will not let you off easily. As she approached the City Lord's residence, her eyes could not help but look at the round egg not far away. Her expression became extremely serious. Jian Luo's third sword was his ultimate move. Its power was extremely terrifying. Even she was extremely wary of it. The only drawback of the third sword was that it was an indiscriminate attack. After Jian Luo and the evil sword became one, he would become a killing machine that only knew destruction. He would destroy everything he saw, including her, his master. Therefore, she needed to find Zhuowen as soon as possible and obtain the array flag in his hand. She needed to use the array flag to leave the array and trap Jian Luo in the array. She needed to force Jian Luo to use up all the evil sword qi in his body. Finally. Therefore, the female broke through the last ray of light and rushed into the City Lord's residence. At the same time, the pitch-black round egg in the distance completely shattered. Countless eggshells peeled off. Evil. The evil sword qi exploded in an instant. Layers of pitch-black sword qi waves spread out in all directions. A figure shrouded in evil sword qi slowly walked out of the crack in the round egg. With every step he took, pitch-black sword qi scattered in all directions like shooting stars, cutting down the rays of light that were attacking him. The female's eyes narrowed. She knew that Jian Luo had completed his transformation. She needed to capture Zhuowen first. She did not want to engage in a meaningless battle with Jian Luo. Boom. The female's palm smashed the doors of the City Lord's residence. She immediately discovered a figure sitting cross-legged in the hall. Zhuowen. The female's face lit up. Her right hand reached out to grab Zhuowen's hand. That was because the formation flag was in Zhuowen's palm. Zhuowen suddenly opened his eyes. A mocking smile appeared on his face. The moment the female's right hand reached out to grab him, a blazing golden light burst out from his glabella. Only the dozens of divine soul sword intents that he had hidden in his body were unceremoniously released and slashed at the female's body. Zhuowen was already prepared. He leaped out of the City Lord's residence skillfully and rushed in the direction of Jian Luo. Chapter 4303. Where do you think you're going? Her expression changed slightly. She wanted to chase after Zhuowen, but she soon discovered that the dozens of divine soul sword intents were not simple at all. If she tried to take them head-on, she would definitely be injured. Helplessly, the woman had no choice but to give up on Zhuowen. The 6 arms of the huge cosmic avatar blasted out at the same time. The 6 weapons burst out with 6 different colors of light, annihilating the dozens of divine soul sword intents that were surging over. Block. Only after blocking the dozens of divine soul sword intents did she realize that Zhuowen was actually rushing towards Jian Luo. This caused her expression to change slightly. This bastard, is he courting death? The young woman's expression was ugly. Although she was unwilling to face Jian Luo, who had become one with his sword, the array flag was in Zhuowen's hands. She had no choice but to chase after Zhuowen and snatch the array flag. Thinking of this, she did not hesitate for long. She stepped into the air and chased after Zhuowen. Sword. Jian Luo slowly walked over from the void. The evil sword qi around him flew out on its own, cutting down the rays of light from the array around him. As if he sensed something, he slowly raised his expressionless face. His ink-black eyes stared coldly at the approaching Zhuowen. Jian Luo remained silent. He slowly drew the evil sword from his waist and a terrifying baleful aura suddenly erupted from his body. Zhuowen's speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Jian Luo. While Jian Luo slowly raised the evil sword in his hand and swung it down. A blazing black sword qi in the shape of a huge crescent slashed through the air, cutting down on Zhuowen's head. The black crescent sword qi was sharp and terrifying. It pierced through the air, piercing through anything before finally landing on Zhuowen's body. Pu. Kai. The crescent sword qi stopped on Zhuowen's body for only a moment before it pierced through Zhuowen's body, cutting him in two. Boom. Boom. In the next moment, Zhuowen's body exploded. Like countless tentacles, a frightening explosion spread out from his body, enveloping Jian Luo. The girl's pupils shrank. She stopped in her tracks and immediately retreated, blocking the spreading shockwaves of the explosion. Her eyes were filled with shock and anger. Self-detonation? That guy had already planned to do so. Jun gritted her teeth. She naturally didn't care about Zhuowen's life or death. What she truly cared about was the treasures of the 7 Emotions 6 Desires Saint Master and the array flag in Zhuowen's possession. If both of them were destroyed in the explosion, not only would she lose the chance to obtain the 7 Emotions and 6 Desires Saint Lord's treasure, she would also lose the chance to leave the formation. Unless she spent a large amount of time and energy to forcefully break the formation around Di Luo City. Thinking of this, the handsome woman gnashed her teeth at Zhuowen even more. This boy was doing this on purpose. Even if he died, he still wanted to cheat her. Boom boom. Suddenly, in the depths of the expanding explosion, a pitch-black light surged out. Then, the explosion rapidly shrank and finally disappeared. A slender figure slowly walked out. It was Jian Luo, who was originally enveloped in the explosion. Here at this moment, Jian Luo's long hair fluttered in the wind. His face was expressionless. Waves of evil sword qi flew out even more recklessly, forming a terrifying sword qi storm around him. When Jian Luo slowly raised his head and stared at the handsome woman with a cold gaze, a sharp killing intent surged out from his body. Jian Luo didn't say a word. His body flashed out like a bolt of black lightning. His target was the handsome woman. Waves of sword intent soared into the sky, revealing its sharpness. The handsome woman's scalp went numb. She originally wanted to send a voice transmission to Jian Luo to awaken his consciousness. However, she found that it was useless. Jian Luo was completely controlled by that evil sword and had lost his sense of self. Bang! The cosmic images of the two collided, releasing a terrifying shockwave. Countless rays of light in the surroundings were instantly annihilated. The handsome woman Jun used all her strength, thinking that she could suppress Jian Luo. However, she found that she was the one being suppressed. How can he be so strong? The handsome woman's face turned ugly. Although she knew that Jian Luo had a trump card that cost his life, she had never seen him use it. Now Jian Luo finally used it. Not only had his strength reached the peak of cosmic image, but he was also stronger than her. This shocked the handsome woman and made her even more anxious. While the handsome woman and Jian Luo were fighting fiercely in Di Luo City, outside the city, several figures gathered and surrounded the city. Seeing the thousands of rays of light erupting from Di Luo City, their faces changed slightly. They were all knowledgeable people. At a glance, They could tell that the tens of thousands of rays of light around Di Luo City were actually a mixture of second heavens of eternal realm grand arrays. How strange. When did Di Luo City have such a powerful divine array master? He can actually arrange such a complex second sky of eternal realm grand array. Holding the divine lamp in his right hand, Old Lamp's slightly turbid eyes shone brightly. He looked at the thousands of rays of light erupting from Di Luo City in shock. Blood Beauty and Yun Chunzi stood beside Old Lamp, also in disbelief. What should we do now? The commotion caused by the handsome woman's arrival in Di Luo City has attracted many people in hiding, and now, there's such a grand array in Di Luo City. As the beauty spoke, her beautiful eyes couldn't help but sweep over the mountains outside Di Luo City. Over there, figures flickered about, hiding powerful auras one after another. They were all experts who had come after hearing the news and were hiding in the shadows. Ming Old Lamp's face darkened. We can't act rashly. After all, we're the ones who issued the notice that we won't interfere with the handsome woman's affairs. If we act without permission, we'll be telling others that the notice we issued exists in name only. At that time, it'll really be chaotic. For now, we can only hope that the handsome woman can successfully take the map fragment from Zhuoan and hand it over to us as soon as possible. The beauty and Yun Chunzi could only nod helplessly. This was indeed the safest way for now. Originally they were full of confidence that the handsome woman could capture Zhuoan. After all, the gap between the two was too big. However, after seeing these powerful grand arrays suddenly appear in Di Luo City, they were a little surprised. He began to suspect that there might be a powerful second sky of eternal realm array master hiding behind Zhuoan. If so, then it would become troublesome. However, they still believed that the handsome woman would win in the end. After all, she was an expert at the pinnacle of the universe's Dharma phase. Even if Zhuoan had the help of a second sky of eternal realm array master, so what? In the end, he couldn't escape the fate of being captured alive by the handsome woman. It was only a matter of time. While Old Man Ming Deng and the other two were talking in secret, many experts hidden in the mountains around Diluo City also began to talk among themselves. Seeing that Old Lamp and the other two didn't move, they also held back. No one dared to be the first bird. In the sea of trees in front of the southeast mountain, Shuju, Ziyu, and the mysterious woman were hiding in an open space in the middle of the sea of trees. Here at this moment, Shuju, Ziyu, and the others didn't look very good. Even the mysterious woman with noble status was silent. Chapter 4304. There should be a great battle going on in Di Luo City. Although it is hidden by a powerful array, I can still clearly sense a part of the fluctuations of the great battle. The old man standing behind Shu Ju looked solemn and his voice was filled with vicissitudes of life. With Zhuowan's strength, how can he be a match for Nu and the others? It is only a matter of time before he is captured. That damn bastard. We gave him the eyes of the void, but he didn't use it. Daren personally went into the Wujin Mountains to give him the eyes of the void in vain. Ziyu stomped his feet in exasperation. He hated Zhuowan so much that his teeth itched. He couldn't wait to tear Zhuowan into pieces. I quite admire this child. Logically speaking, if an ordinary cultivator were to obtain the Eye of the Void in such a situation of certain death, they would definitely use it at the first moment to escape with their life. But he didn't do that. Instead, he sought another way to escape. This shows that his will is far stronger than an ordinary cultivator's. The mysterious woman suddenly spoke. She glanced sideways at Ziyu and put in a good word for Zhuowan. Ziyu smiled a little embarrassedly, but didn't dare to refute the mysterious woman's words. However, there was jealousy in his eyes. Of course, the target of his jealousy was naturally not the mysterious woman, but Zhuowan. Let's wait and see. If Brother Zhuo really encounters a life and death crisis, he will definitely use the Eyes of the Void. At that time, we can meet up with him in advance. Since he hasn't used it yet, it means that he hasn't reached the moment of life and death, Shuju said calmly. Ziyu and the others were helpless. They thought that Shuju was right. Now, the only thing they could do was wait and see. Boom. Boom. As time passed, the battle in Di Luo City became more and more intense and gradually reached its climax. Many experts hidden around Di Luo City naturally felt it. At the same time, they also noticed that the tens of thousands of rays of light emitted by the combination array around Di Luo City were gradually dimming. Obviously, under the influence of the terrifying battle in Di Luo City, this powerful combination array was gradually unable to support itself. Most of these combination arrays were at the early stage of the second sky of Eternal Realm. The reason why they could last until now was mainly because of the strong defense formed by the complex combination of these arrays. Now, the battle between Nu and Gen Luo was becoming more and more intense. The energy that spread out was too strong, almost destroying the surrounding arrays. Many cultivators trapped in Di Luo City had suffered an unexpected disaster. Most of them died from the energy shockwaves of the battle. A few lucky ones who hid in remote areas and escaped with their lives. Finally, the combination array that spanned across the entire Di Luo City could no longer withstand the energy of Gen Luo and Nu and shattered with a loud bang. Gen Luo. The moment the array shattered, Nu's huge Dharma idol waved its 6 arms. The 6 weapons on the 6 arms spewed out 6 different colored light beams. In the blink of an eye, the light beams pierced through Gen Luo's defense formed by countless sword chi storms and pierced through his entire body. Gen Luo's body stagnated and he spat out a mouthful of black blood. His pitch-black eyes slowly regained their clarity. What? What happened? Gen Luo's body twitched as soon as he finished speaking. Then, the evil divine sword in his body was pulled out from his Tianling acupoint. Sword Gen Luo screamed. After the evil sword left his body, he lost his last bit of vitality. His whole body fell to the ground like a doll with its strings cut. He couldn't be more dead. After the evil sword left Gen Luo's body, it flew across the sky and fled into the distance. Don't even think about escaping. Nu was flustered and exasperated. She was in a sorry state and hated the evil sword to the core. This time, she naturally didn't want the evil sword to escape. However, the evil sword was too fast. As soon as she finished speaking, the evil sword had already disappeared without a trace. She couldn't lock onto it in time. Just as she was about to give chase, the bright lamp old man, Blood Beauty, and Yun Chunzi, who had been waiting outside the city, had already caught up and blocked her path. Nu, what about Zhuowen? According to our previous agreement, you just have to hand Zhuowen over to us, the bright lamp old man hurriedly said. As he spoke, he looked in the direction of the mountain ring around Di Luo City. He could sense that the experts hidden around the mountain ring were ready to make a move. Their hidden auras were exposed one after another, causing him to feel a chill run down his spine. Nu revealed a bitter smile. She looked at the 3 people surrounding her and knew that now wasn't the time to chase after the evil sword. She had to explain to the bright lamp old man and the others. Therefore, Nu briefly explained everything that had happened in Di Luo City. The bright lamp old man and the others' expressions immediately turned ugly. They looked unkindly at Nu and asked, that Zhuowen self-destructed and died. Are you sure? Nu braced herself and nodded. How would Nu dare to deceive the 3 sirs? Everything I said is true. The bright lamp old man wanted to say more, but his expression changed greatly. He couldn't help but look at the mountain ring outside Di Luo City. He saw that around the mountain ring, many figures were rapidly approaching. Their auras were incomparably strong. Many of them were not weaker than the bright lamp old man and the others. At a glance, there were at least 20 people. All of a sudden, so many late and peak Dharma adepts of the universe had gathered. This immediately caused Nu, who was still explaining, to tremble in fear. Her face turned pale. The 6 city lords who had originally thought that they had escaped danger and were planning to sneak away were caught by several experts and brought over as soon as they walked out of Di Luo City. Among this group of experts, Shu Ju, Ziyu and the others were also among them. However, they were more low-key and didn't attract too much attention. Bright Lamp, it seems that you have made a big discovery. You should know the whereabouts of that Zhuowen. An elegant middle-aged scholar walked out of the crowd. He looked indifferently at the bright lamp old man and the others and asked the question in everyone's hearts. Originally, they had also thought that Zhuowen would be captured by Nu and then they would reap the benefits. However, when they had waited for Di Luo City's great array to break, they had seen Nu alone. There was no sign of Zhuowen at all. Ming. The bright lamp old man, Blood Beauty, and Yun Chun's expressions weren't very good. They coldly glared at Nu and then threw her to the middle-aged scholar. We don't know what happened in Di Luo City. As for that Zhuowen's whereabouts, we don't know either. You can ask Nu. The bright lamp old man said unhappily. The middle-aged scholar wasn't angry. He stroked his right hand and a gentle energy wrapped around Nu. Her stumbling figure slowly stabilized in front of him. The third leader of the newer clan. Speak, where is Zhuowen? The middle-aged scholar asked lightly. The handsome girl's face was full of bitterness, and her heart was beating extremely fast. She looked somewhat timidly at the middle-aged scholar in front of her and the many experts behind him. She could only brace herself and repeat what she had said to the old man of Bright Lamp and the others. Bookmark for easy reading. Chapter 4305. Did Zhuowen blow himself up and die? Did the map fragments on his body also disappear with his explosion? The middle-aged scholar narrowed his eyes and stared at the handsome girl he was supporting. The dozens of people behind the middle-aged scholar were discussing animatedly. The content of their discussion was very simple. They didn't believe the handsome girl's words at all. Honorable 3 clan leaders, it seems that no one believes your words. I also think that your words are too childish. I hope you don't hide anything from us anymore. If you have something to say, just say it. As long as you say it, we won't make things difficult for you. The middle-aged scholar looked at the handsome girl with a smile. He looked very warm, but the girl could clearly feel that there was a deep chill hidden behind the middle-aged scholar's smile. The handsome girl was in a dilemma. She had indeed told the truth, but no one believed the truth. Everyone, I'm telling the truth. If you don't believe me, I can open my divine soul and let you check my memory. The handsome girl clenched her fists tightly and said in a deep voice. Ming, the old man, the middle-aged scholar, and the others were all shocked by the handsome girl's words. Their eyes showed that they were thinking. The handsome girl was even willing to open her divine soul for them to check. Did it mean that the former was telling the truth? Yes. They knew that the divine soul was the most important part of a cultivator. Opening the divine soul was equivalent to handing the right of life to the other party. The handsome girl was obviously intimidated by the power of so many powerhouses. That was why she finally decided to make this decision. Since the 3 clan leaders are so frank, it would be impolite of us to refuse. Then, we'll leave it to you. The middle-aged scholar smiled slightly. Although he was surprised that the handsome girl could do this, he was not so gullible. Therefore, he still wanted to check the handsome girl's memory. The handsome girl smiled bitterly and said, Sir, I'll let you check the memory of my divine soul alone. After you confirm it, can you testify for me? The handsome girl's divine soul was powerful, but if it was checked by so many people, she was afraid that it would be seriously injured. Therefore, she made this request, hoping to minimize the damage. The handsome girl, the middle-aged scholar, pondered for a moment. He looked at the people behind him. After everyone agreed, he nodded and said, Of course. The handsome girl sighed softly and no longer resisted. She began to gradually let go of the guard on the surface of her divine soul and accept the middle-aged scholar's spiritual exploration. The handsome girl's eyes slightly closed and there was some pain on her face. The people around them all stared at the handsome girl and the middle-aged scholar with different thoughts. Shuju and Ziyu looked at each other and saw the worry in each other's eyes. When the female lead told them that Zhuowen had died from self-detonation, the two of them didn't believe it even if they were beaten to death. After all, Zhuowen had a life-saving treasure like the Eye of Void. Under everyone's nervous gazes, time slowly passed. In the end, the middle-aged scholar withdrew his palm from the girl's Qianling acupoint. His eyes revealed a look of disbelief. Everyone's gazes retracted from the handsome girl and landed on the middle-aged scholar. They held their breaths and waited for the middle-aged scholar to speak. The middle-aged scholar smiled bitterly. I've checked the handsome girl's memories. She really didn't lie. In her memories, Zhuowen did explode. As soon as these words came out, the crowd was in an uproar, and the noise continued to resound. Shuju, Ziyu, and the mysterious girl's pupils shrank. They felt that it was even more inconceivable. What's wrong with this Zhuowen? He didn't use that life-saving treasure and chose to explode. Does he want to anger us to death? Ziyu gritted her teeth and said in a low voice. There should be something fishy about this matter. Based on my understanding of Zhuowen, he's not a simple-minded brute who only knows how to act recklessly, Shuju said rather calmly. The mysterious girl, who had been silent, also spoke. Shuju is right. Although I haven't had much contact with Zhuowen, I have witnessed his various performances in the Wujin Mountains. He is a resourceful and extremely cunning little fellow. I suspect that this little fellow might have used some kind of trick to deceive the handsome girl. In fact, he's still alive. He might even have quietly slipped to a place where no one is around to hide. Ziyu and the other two people looked thoughtful. They secretly nodded in their hearts. They also thought that Shuju and the mysterious girl's words made sense. If that Zhuowen really escaped, will he still look for us? Ziyu frowned. I'm not sure about this. Let's try to contact Zhuowen again after this place disperses. If he really keeps his word, he will definitely reply to us, Shuju said in a low voice. Shuju, Ziyu, and the others didn't speak anymore. They acted like good actors and matched the expressions of the people around them. They also looked surprised and incredulous. Are you sure you didn't make a mistake? Then how can Zhuowen self-destruct? He has a remnant map on him. I don't believe it. This handsome girl must have done something to her soul. In fact, she has already hidden Zhuowen. The crowd was in high spirits. They all stretched out their necks like ducks and questioned the handsome girl. The handsome girl's face was pale. She had never seen such a scene before. She was so scared that her face turned pale. There were many pinnacle experts of the universe here. If these experts attacked her just because of a disagreement, how could she still be alive? The middle-aged scholar's face turned cold. He suddenly shouted. The sound waves were filled with a terrifying pressure that was as heavy as a mountain. The originally excited crowd immediately quieted down after the middle-aged scholar's shout. It was obvious that the middle-aged scholar was one of the stronger ones in this group, which was why his shout was so effective. Everyone, I have thoroughly checked the handsome girl's soul. There is indeed no problem. I can make a heavenly oath about this. The middle-aged scholar said solemnly. Since the middle-aged scholar had already said this, everyone calmed down. Shuju, Ziyu, and the others frowned. They didn't believe the handsome girl's words at all, but the middle-aged scholar had already made a heavenly oath. If the handsome girl was lying, he wouldn't be so stupid as to make a heavenly oath. Could it be that Zhuowen was really dead? How can that be? Ziyu muttered to herself. Her eyes were full of ruthlessness. Shuju, the mysterious woman, and the others were also frowning. They didn't believe that Zhuowen was dead, but they had to believe it now. Chem. Zhu suddenly felt something. The communication jade talisman at his waist flashed faintly. He looked around and saw that no one was paying attention to him, so he quietly took off the communication jade token. The moment he saw the name of the sender of the communication jade token, his pupils couldn't help but constrict, and his body couldn't help but tremble. Ziyuyoyo looked strangely at Shuju, who had lost his composure. In his impression, Shuju had always been mature, steady, and had a card up his sleeve. This was the first time he had seen him lose his composure like this. Chapter 4306. Shuju quickly calmed down. He put the communication jade talisman back at his waist and said, "This matter is of great importance. We'll talk about it when we get back." Ziyu and the others saw that Shuju was so cautious. Although they were curious, they didn't ask. In the end, the storm in Diluor City ended in a farce. The experts from the super domains who had been hiding in the dark had originally planned to reap the benefits of the battle. They didn't. But when he thought about it, it was all for naught. Great. A portion of the experts chose to leave Deluor City and prepared to return home. Female Jun also let out a sigh of relief. She thought that she had finally escaped a calamity. But she became nervous again when a voice transmission entered her mind. She looked at Old Man Ming Deng, Blood Beauty, and Yun Chunzi, who were eyeing her covetously. She felt bitter. She knew that the three of them were still suspicious of her. It seems that I can't leave Deluor City for a while. Jun sighed in her heart. Old Man Ming Deng and the others had told her to stay first. They still had to examine her. Only she was truly safe after Old Man Ming Deng and the others' suspicions disappeared. On the other hand, Shu Ju, Ziyu, and the others weren't in a hurry to leave Deluor City. Instead, they settled down in a secluded inn in Deluor City. Although Deluor City was almost destroyed because of the battle, there were still a few parts that were intact. Because the inn owner and workers had fled, they didn't need to pay to stay in the inn. It was completely free. The five of them entered the largest room. After Shu Ju confirmed that there was no one near the inn, he began to set up a silencing restriction in the room. Ziyu, the mysterious woman, and the others watched silently and didn't disturb Shu Ju. They faintly guessed that what Shu Ju was going to say next should be extremely important. After confirming that there was no mistake, Shu Ju went to the round table in the center of the room. He took out a communication jade talisman from his waist and placed it on the table. Zhuowen sent me a message. Shu Ju's soft words were like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. Everyone trembled in shock. What? So Zhuowen isn't dead? Ha ha ha. Ziyu was the most excited and couldn't help but exclaim loudly. The middle-aged man and the old man also let out a sigh of relief. They had relaxed smiles on their faces. Zhuowen was not dead, which meant that Zhuowen's map fragment was still there. This also meant that their efforts during this period of time were not in vain. This child did not use the Eye of the Void and was actually able to escape from the encirclement of the handsome girls. Moreover, he made Envy think that he had fallen. I really don't know how he got here. Ziyu muttered doubtfully. We have underestimated Zhuowen. It seems that his methods are more powerful than we thought. Now, let's take a look at the content of his message. Shu Ju stretched out his right hand and tapped the jade communication talisman on the table. The jade talisman glowed with a blazing white light, and words began to appear one after another. Brother Shu Ju, I'm free. The message in the talisman was very simple. There were only a few words. Brother Shu Ju, can you ask where he is now? It's time for him to fulfill the agreement. Ziyu urged anxiously. Void Day nodded and sent a message to Zhuowen, asking for his location. Very soon, Zhuowen sent another message. It's not convenient at the moment. I'll contact you again after this period of time passes. What? This fellow still wants to delay? Ziyu asked. Yu was flustered and exasperated. She hurriedly sent a message to Zhuowen to meet up with them immediately. Unfortunately, Ziyu's message was like a stone sinking into the sea. There was no response at all. In a sea of trees billions of miles northwest of Wujin Mountain, a figure stood on a huge rock in the depths of the sea of trees. He held the jade communication talisman in his right hand and silently glanced at the message Ziyu sent him. He sneered but did not reply. Instead, he put the jade communication talisman back on his waist. He was Zhuowen. After he quietly left Luo City through the transmission formation, he continued to run without stopping until he was far enough away from this sea of trees. This sea of trees was extremely vast. There was a strange fog lingering all year round. Even a great Xiaoyaro cultivator would easily get lost here. Because the strange fog in the forest had the ability to confuse the soul consciousness, Zhuowen was relatively safe hiding in this place. Under the boulder, Zhu Yuan was gasping for breath. Shifu, you even dare to provoke a strong cultivator like the handsome female warrior. Aren't you afraid that you won't have a place to stay in the newer region in the future? Zhuowen glanced at Zhu Yuan and did not correct the latter's address to him. He silently shook his head in his heart. If Zhu Yuan knew that he not only provoked the handsome female warrior, but also slaughtered most of the strong cultivators of the newer region and offended many super strong cultivators of the newer region, who knows how Zhu Yuan would feel? We'll retreat here for a while. During this time, you'd better disguise yourself and go out to help me inquire about the news. If you do well to my satisfaction, I'll consider accepting you as a disciple. Zhuowen said lightly. Zhu Yuan, who was still a little unwilling, immediately became more energetic after hearing this sentence. Also, take this sword with you. Zhuowen took out the Taiyu sacred sword and secretly sent a message to Xiao He, asking it to supervise him. After that, he sat cross-legged on the boulder and began to cultivate. He had just broken through the great tribulation of heaven and earth, and had experienced several great battles. His injuries had increased by a lot, and his realm was faintly showing signs of slipping. If he did not consolidate his realm, it would be easy to leave behind hidden dangers, which would be a huge problem for his future cultivation. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. This Zhu Yuan returned 3 times during this period, and all he brought back was good news. Zhuowen also knew that what happened in the Wujin Mountains had spread throughout the newer region. Almost all the cultivators in the newer region knew what happened in the Wujin Mountains, and they firmly remembered the name Zhuowen. Everyone in the newer region also believed that Zhuowen had self-destructed under the handsome female warrior's encirclement. After hearing this news, Zhuowen finally relaxed. It seemed that the humanoid puppet had fooled the handsome female warrior. He knew very well that without the handsome female warrior's cooperation, the news of his death might not have been believed. But with the handsome female warrior as a witness, no one would doubt it. Then 3 months passed, and suddenly, a powerful ripple of energy appeared in the vast forest. The dense clouds that lingered above the forest suddenly spread out in all directions in a ring-shaped manner. From afar, one could see that the clouds above the forest were spiraling downward in the shape of an inverted funnel. A magnificent aura soared into the sky. But this aura came and went quickly, and it did not attract the attention of the nearby creatures. In the depths of the sea, Zhuowen slowly stood up from the huge rock. His eyes flickered with a blazing radiance that was dazzling. How lucky! Not only did I consolidate my realm, but I also broke through to the middle stage of the great tribulation of heaven and earth. Zhuowen murmured to himself, his eyes full of joy. He knew that the reason why he could break through so quickly was that the tribulation energy of his great tribulation of heaven and earth was too powerful, and the energy it fed back to him was also very powerful. Therefore, he could break through again in such a short time. Now, he had absorbed all the tribulation energy. If he wanted to break through again, it would not be as easy as it was now. Chapter 4307. Zhu Yuan, Shan Lingyun, Xiao He, and others, who had been waiting for a long time, came up to welcome them. Master is above. Please accept a bow from your disciple. As soon as Zhu Yuan walked up, he immediately knelt on the ground with a serious face. Xiao He, Shan Lingyun, and others had a painful expression. This Zhu Yuan was a white-haired old man. At first glance, he was a highly respected person. Now, he knelt on the ground without any integrity to worship Zhuowen as his master. His face was really thick. Zhuowen looked helplessly at Zhu Yuan, who was kneeling on the ground. Thinking that Zhu Yuan did his best to collect information from the outside world during this period of time, he sighed silently and said, "Zhu Yuan, you get up first. Follow me first. As long as it is about formations, we can occasionally discuss with each other." Zhu Yuan suddenly raised his head. On his wrinkled old face, there were tears. He cried without any integrity, "Master, are you not going to accept me?" Zhuowen scratched his temples and said helplessly, You see, you are not young anymore, and I am so young and beautiful. It is not appropriate for you to call me master, right?" As soon as Zhuowen finished speaking, Shan Lingyun, who was not far away, was unhappy. "Why is it inappropriate? I look much younger than you, disciple. Don't you call me master too? But in terms of actual age, you are definitely not as good as me. Disciple, I warn you, don't judge people by their appearance. Don't look at Zhu Yuan. He looks like an old man. Maybe he is not as old as you. It is just that he looks more anxious. Shan Lingyun put her hands on her hips and glared at Zhuowen. Then, she turned to look at Zhu Yuan and smiled sweetly. Zhu Yuan, I am Zhuowen's master. Since you recognize him as master, then you are my grand disciple. Come, call me grandmaster. Zhu Yuan looked at the little lowly in front of him. The sweat on his forehead suddenly became a lot more lush. He smiled bitterly and shouted, Grandmaster is good. Hey. Good girl. Shan Lingyun's large eyes turned into crescents as she smiled. After that, she turned to look at Zhuowen, and her expression instantly became much more solemn as she said, Disciple, he has already called me martial ancestor. What do you think we should do? Zhuowen smiled bitterly. What else could he do? He could only accept them. Well, the Zhu Yuan, get up. Then I'll accept you as my disciple, Zhuowen said. The Zhu Yuan's eyes lit up with hope, and he kowtowed to thank him. All right. Now that you are my disciple, there is no need for thanks between master and disciple. Zhuowen waved his hand and said, Disciple, did you find any clues about your lover in the 7 Emotions and 6 Desires mountain in the Black Gold Mountain range? Shan Lingyun suddenly asked. Zhuowen nodded and gently opened his right palm. On his palm, there was a platinum pentagram mark. This was the key to enter the Starlight World and the only way for him to get in touch with the colored mud. At the beginning, the colored mud said that after he successfully left the Black Gold Mountain range, she would tell him the specific location of Mo Yang Wushong. Zhuowen took a deep breath and began to communicate with the platinum star mark on his palm. Soon, his consciousness began to blur. Dang! After his consciousness woke up, he found that he had appeared in a vast and boundless world full of starlight. In front of the endless starlight, a 7-colored pagoda was suspended in front of Zhuowen. While on the top of the pagoda, a thumb-sized little girl wearing a 7-colored dress was sitting there crisply. She was rolling her eyes and looking at Zhuowen. Caini, you summoned me into the starlight world? Does this count as one of the 3 times? Zhuowen quickly asked. Caini rolled her eyes again and said, You only entered the starlight world with your consciousness. It does not count as one of the 3 times. You called me because you want to know the location of the other inheritor, right? Wen nodded, and his expression became excited. He spent so much effort to break into the 7 Emotions and 6 Desires mountain, wasn't it to find Mo Yang Wushong? Caini stroked her white chin and said, In my senses, the other inheritor is no longer in the newer domain. Wait a moment, let me deduce it. With that, Caini sat cross-legged on the top of the pagoda. The surrounding starlight began to spontaneously sweep towards Caini, and after a certain distance from Caini, it began to rotate regularly. After an unknown period of time, the starlight that was originally rotating around Caini suddenly collapsed. Countless starlight rushed up like a storm, and then scattered and combined together in a regular pattern. In the end, these starlight formed a map. The shape of this map was similar to a crouching tiger on the ground. In the map, there were large rivers, towering mountains, basins, cities, and other terrains and buildings. Which domain is this? Zhuowen looked seriously at the map that was purely composed of starlight in front of him. He felt that it was somewhat familiar and recognized that it should be a map of a domain. In the center of this map, there was a huge city standing. The light of this city was the brightest and most dazzling in the entire map. Wen's gaze fell on the magnificent city gate in front of this city. On top of the gate, there was a huge plaque hanging. On the plaque were the words Void Yama City. Void Yama City? Isn't this the most central city of the Void Yama domain? Wen's pupils shrank. He immediately recognized that this map was actually a map of the Void Yama domain. In the past, he had read a rough map of the 100 domains outside the domain, and he still had some impression of most of the domain maps. In addition, there was a landmark like the Void Yama City, so Zhuowen immediately recalled. At this moment, the map formed by starlight collapsed with a loud bang. Countless starlight scattered again and scattered to every corner of the starlight world. Caini also slowly opened her eyes. She looked at Zhuowen and said, "Kid, did you see it clearly? The other inheritor is in the Void Yama city of the Void Yama domain." Zhuowen cupped his fists at Caini and said, "Thank you." Caini curled her lips and waved her hand impatiently. "This is what I promised before. Well, now you can leave." As soon as the voice fell, Zhuowen's consciousness blurred again. When he woke up again, he found that he was no longer in the starlight world, but in the depths of the forest. In front of him, Zhu Yuan, Shan Lingyun, and Xiao He were looking at his face doubtfully, as if there was something on his face. "What are you looking at?" Zhuowen blurted out after he woke up. Three people were shocked and couldn't help but take a few steps back. Shan Lingyun said, "We thought you were possessed just now. Suddenly you stood there with your eyes closed and didn't move. No matter how we called you, you didn't move." "I was just thinking about something." Zhuowen casually found an excuse to fool them, but he was thinking about other things in his heart. Since Mo Yang Wushang was in the Void Yama city of the Void Yama domain, then it seemed that he needed to go to the Void Yama domain. And he remembered that Shu Ju came from the Void Yama domain, and it just so happened that he had reached an agreement with Shu Ju about the map fragment. If he gave the map fragment to Shu Ju should take him to the Void Yama domain to help him break through again. Thinking of this, Zhuowen took out the communication jade and began to contact Shu Ju. On the other side, Shu Ju, Ziyu, and the others were still waiting for Zhuowen's news in Zhaotian City near the Wujin Mountains. Chapter 4308. This is outrageous. It's already been half a year. There's no news from Zhuowen at all. Is he planning to stand us up? Ziyu slammed the table in the room and said angrily. The other four people in the room also didn't look very good. Because of Zhuowen's words, they had waited here for half a year. Now, there was no news from Zhuowen. He didn't even send a message. This made them suspect that Zhuowen had taken the map fragment and slipped away. Shu Ju sat to the side. His face was as calm as water and he didn't say a word. Suddenly, the communication jade talisman at his waist lit up. Everyone immediately quieted down and stared at the communication jade talisman at Shu Ju's waist. Shu Ju took out the communication jade talisman. When he saw the sender's name, his eyes immediately became excited. He said in a deep voice, "It's from Zhuowen. He's finally here." Ziyu also muttered to herself excitedly. Shu Ju opened the jade talisman. After reading the message, he couldn't help but smile. "Zhuowen has come out of seclusion. He intends to fulfill our agreement. He wants us to arrange a meeting place." Everyone in the room sighed. They were waiting for Zhuowen to say this. They hadn't waited for half a year in vain. "Where should we meet up?" Ziyu asked. "It's definitely not near Wujin mountain range. Let's go there." Shu Ju thought for a while and discussed with the others. After they finally decided on the meeting place, the five of them set off. At the same time, Zhuowen, who was far away in the forest, also received Shu Ju's message. I didn't expect to choose there. Well, after we meet there, it's more convenient to leave the newer domain." Shu Ju put away the jade talisman and instructed Shan Lingyun and Zhu Yuan. The three of them disguised themselves and left the forest. Although he said that the news of Zhuowen's death had spread across the newer realm. Theoretically, Zhuowen was relatively safe now. However, Zhuowen didn't dare let his guard down. Once he was recognized, then he would have to face the joint attack of most of the forces of the newer clan. At that time, he would really be unable to escape. Zhuowen brought Shan Lingyun and the Zhu Yuan this time, while Duanjipeng's injuries had not yet healed, and he was still recuperating in the big world. The three of them headed north and quickly approached the northern border of the newer realm. According to the message Shu Ju sent to Zhuowen, the meeting place was a small, nameless city at the northern border of newer realm. This is the name of this small city was Mo Bay City, and it was the most remote city in the newer realm. The chaos energy was extremely scarce, and very few cultivators stayed in this city. Most of them were poor cultivators and mortals who had yet to attain their Tao. 2 days later, Zhuowen and the other two arrived at Mo Bay City. The city walls of Mo Bay City were extremely low, and the area was not large. From afar, it looked like an inconspicuous small mound. On the other hand, Mo Bay City was surrounded by towering ice mountains. The tall snowy mountains and the small city formed a stark contrast. Zhuowen didn't rashly enter Mo Bay City. He observed outside the city for a while, and after confirming that there was no ambush in Mo Bay City, he brought Shan Lingyun and the Ju Yuan into the city. The city gate of Mo Bay City was not big, and the guards of the city gate were dressed in rags. They stood on both sides of the gate in a crooked manner. They did not even look at Zhuo Wen and the other two before letting them in. This Mo Bay City is too shabby. Even the guards are so dispirited. Any random cultivator would be able to break through this small city. Shan Lingyun couldn't help but ridicule. You also know that this Mo Bay City is shabby. There must be nothing good in this place. What cultivator would be willing to attack this shabby city? The Ju Yuan quickly said. Shan Lingyun glared at the Ju Yuan. The latter shrank his head, showed a flattering smile, and quickly slapped his mouth. Zhuowen turned his head and glared at the two. The two who were bickering shrank their heads and giggled. Soon, Zhuowen came to the city lord's residence of Mo Bay City. This city lord's residence looked quite shabby, a bit like an ordinary attic. May I ask if you are Zhuo Daren? The two guards at the gate of the city lord's residence saw Zhuowen and the other two from afar. They quickly stepped forward and asked. Yes. Zhuowen nodded gently. Then follow me. One of the guards quickly led Zhuowen and the other two into the city lord's residence. After crossing several corridors, Zhuowen came to a garden in the city lord's residence under the guidance of the guard. In the garden rockery, there was a mechanism. The guard opened the mechanism, and a tunnel that led to the depths of the ground appeared in the rockery. The three of you, Shuju Daren ordered us to send you here. Next, you need to walk by yourself. Follow this tunnel to the end and you will reach the bottom. The guard respectfully bowed and left the garden. Zhuo Wen, on the other hand, entered the tunnel after checking that there were no traps in the tunnel. The tunnel was not deep. In less than a quarter of an hour, the three of them reached the secret room at the bottom of the tunnel. Brother Zhuo, you are finally here. Zhuowen had just entered the secret room when he heard a hearty voice. Zhuo Wen looked up and found that the secret room was quite spacious. The decorations inside were also very luxurious. In the center of the secret room, Shuju, Ziyu, and the mysterious woman were sitting on red sandalwood chairs on both sides. A middle-aged man was standing on the side cautiously. Seeing Zhuowen come in, Shuju quickly stood up and walked over to greet him. Ziyu coldly glanced at Zhuowen. She still sat there calmly and had no intention of getting up to greet him. While, the middle-aged man sitting next to Ziyu also looked on coldly. His attitude was surprisingly the same as Ziyu's. On the other hand, the mysterious woman and the other old man followed Shuju to greet them. I've been in seclusion for the past 6 months to consolidate my cultivation. You also know that I've experienced several big battles. If my cultivation isn't stable, it's in danger of slipping down. Zhuowen cupped his hands and smiled. Shuju waved his hand and said, Brother Zhuo, you're treating me like an outsider. I've always believed that you're a person who keeps his promises. Not to mention half a year, even if it's 10 years or 100 years, I'm willing to wait. Zhuowen smiled and didn't care about Shuju's polite words. His gaze fell on the mysterious woman standing not far away from Shuju. Hello, we meet again. Zhuowen smiled. It was this woman who had handed the Eye of the Void to him in the Golden Mountain Range. She had also given him an extremely precious healing medicine. Zhuowen was extremely grateful to her. The mysterious woman nodded lightly and said, I've said it before. I'm only doing what I was asked to do. My name is Lian Rong. My teacher is the Archean Heavenly Tao Academy's Saint Master Qinglian. Zhuowen's pupils constricted and he looked at the mysterious woman in surprise. He didn't expect that this mysterious woman called Lian Rong was actually from the Archean Heavenly Tao Academy. As for the so-called Saint Master Qinglian, Zhuowen had no idea at all. But Shuju, Ziyu, and the others all widened their eyes in shock. Chapter 4309. Lord Lian Rong, you're actually Saint Master Qing Lian's disciple? Why didn't you mention it before? Xu Ju asked in surprise. Zhuowen didn't know the Saint Master's position in the archaic Heavenly Tao Academy, but Xu Ju, Ziyu, and the others were very clear. There were a total of 9 Saint Masters in the archaic Heavenly Tao Academy, and they were in charge of the 9 sacred courtyards of the archaic Heavenly Tao Academy. Their statuses were lofty and almost unattainable. The 9 Saint Masters' statuses were second only to the extremely mysterious Dean. They were the overseers of the archaic Heavenly Tao Academy on the surface. As for the cultivation and strength of the 9 Saint Masters, they stood at the peak of the 100 outer regions. However, what they were most famous for was not their strength, but rather their godly ability to educate. It was said that even animals that were born slow-witted could instantly gain intelligence under the guidance of the Saint Masters. As for extremely talented geniuses, under the guidance of the Saint Masters, their future achievements would surpass the shackles of their own talent and reach a higher level. It was precisely because of the Sacred Master's ability to enlighten that countless geniuses from the Outer Realm's 100 territories wanted to enter the archaic Heavenly Tao Academy. They hoped that one day, they would be valued by the Sacred Master and receive his guidance. However, the Saint Masters were supreme existences in the archaic Heavenly Tao Academy. If a genius couldn't enter the Saint Master's eyes, then it would be impossible to receive their guidance, let alone become the Saint Master's personal disciple. Once one became the Saint Master's personal disciple, their future would be limitless. However, the Saint Masters were extremely picky. As long as there was the slightest flaw, he wouldn't casually accept a disciple. Therefore, the disciples that the Saint Masters accepted were basically perfect geniuses in the eyes of the outside world. In other words, they were the so-called super geniuses. Over countless years, the number of disciples that the 9 Saint Masters accepted could be counted on one hand. Although there weren't many, all of them had become true top-notch experts under the guidance of their respective Saint Masters. Their reputations spread far and wide, and their names shook the 100 territories. Lian Rong was actually the personal disciple of one of the 9 Saint Masters, Saint Master Qing Lian. Just this identity alone was enough for her to do whatever she wanted in the 100 territories. She restrained her expression and glanced at Xu Ju and the others before saying, "I was just taken in by Master not long ago. Moreover, you should more or less understand my personality. I don't like to make a big fuss about it, and there's no need for me to say it." Xu Ju and Ziyu looked at each other bitterly. They could be considered old acquaintances with Lian Rong. They more or less understood Lian Rong's cold personality. So, they weren't too surprised when Lian Rong said this. Zhuowen observed the expressions of Xu Ju, Ziyu, and the others. He could also see that the sage master that Lian Rong mentioned should be extremely powerful. Lian Rong ignored Xu Ju, Ziyu, and the others' shock. Her beautiful phoenix eyes landed on Zhuowen. "Zhuowen, I've been observing you all this time. Your natural talent and strength aren't inferior to Sakyamuni who shook the 100 territories all those years ago. Moreover, what's even more commendable is that you're the one with the supreme Tao root who broke the taboo. In countless years, you're the only one who broke the taboo. If you go back with me, I believe that my master will be very interested in you and will take you in as a disciple." Lian Rong looked at Zhuowen and spoke sincerely. Xu Ju, Ziyu, and the others' expressions changed slightly. Although they knew that Lian Rong had noticed Zhuowen from the beginning, they didn't expect her to give Zhuowen such a high evaluation. If Zhuowen successfully entered the Archean Heavenly Tao Academy and was taken in as a disciple by Sage Master Qinglian, his status would immediately change. Zhuowen was extremely calm. From Xu Ju, Ziyu, and the others' expressions, he could see that Lian Rong's suggestion was extremely beneficial to him. However, Zhuowen also had his own hesitation. He had too many secrets on him, especially the Archean primordial chant, which was a shocking cultivation method. If he entered the Archean Heavenly Tao Academy and was taken in as a personal disciple by the sage master behind Lian Rong, then there was an extremely great danger that his secrets would be exposed. After all, the sage master's status was there. His strength was outstanding, and his insight wasn't something that ordinary experts could compare to. However, Zhuowen also knew that joining the Archean Heavenly Tao Academy also had great benefits. After all, it was the largest power in the 100 territories outside the 100 territories. Its deep foundation that had existed since ancient times was enough to make it easier for him to raise his cultivation. Miss Lian Rong, I need to consider, Zhuowen said after pondering for a moment. Lian Rong frowned slightly. Zhuowen's reaction was far beyond her expectations. If it was an ordinary person, they would have been wild with joy and trembled with excitement after receiving an invitation from the sage master's personal disciple. But Zhuowen was still so calm, and had even rejected her indifferently. Consider. Are you sure you need to consider? Lian Rong thought that she had misheard and asked again. Zhuowen nodded. Yes, I do need to consider. Xu Ju, Ziyu, and the other three speechlessly looked at Zhuowen, who was seriously considering. They wailed in their hearts, why didn't this opportunity come to them? Lian Rong was rather unhappy, but she didn't show it on the surface. She took out a green token and handed it to Zhuowen. This is my recommendation token. If you've thought it through, take this recommendation token and come to the Archean Heavenly Tao Academy's Qinglian Sacred Tao Academy to find me. I still have things to do, so I'll leave first. Xu Ju, I'll leave the matter of the map fragment to you. I hope you won't disappoint me. After Lian Rong finished speaking, she didn't wait for Zhuowen's reply. She lightly tapped the void with her jade feet and disappeared along with spatial ripples. Xu Ju hurriedly bowed in the direction that Lian Rong left and then came to Zhuowen's side. He said helplessly, Brother Zhuowen, that was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Lord Lian Rong thinks so highly of you, and your talent is not weak either. If she were Saint Master Qing Lian, if you put in a few good words in front of her, you will be fellow disciples. Zhuowen's gaze was calm. Brother Xu Ju, I didn't refuse. I just said that I'll consider it. If I've really thought it through, I'll naturally look for Lady Lian Rong. Xu Ju shook his head and cursed in his heart, you've already missed the best opportunity to reject that lady in person. It's already good that she didn't flip out in front of you. Do you really think you're a big shot? Next time, even if you've thought it through, she won't speak up for you like this. Zhuowen naturally didn't know what Xu Ju was thinking. He took out the map fragment and handed it to Xu Ju. This is the map fragment of the Wujin mountain range. According to our previous agreement, you said that it can help me break through the peak of the universe tribulation, right? Xu Ju, Ziyu, and the other three looked at the map fragment in Zhuowen's hand and couldn't help but widen their eyes. Their eyes flickered with excitement. Of course. Brother Zhuo, you're really good. Now, give me the map fragment. Xu Ju couldn't help but reach out his right hand to grab the map fragment in Zhuowen's hand, but Zhuowen dodged it. Wait. According to the agreement, you also need to help Duan Jipeng improve his cultivation. You should know this, right? Zhuowen asked indifferently. Xu Ju frowned slightly and said in a low voice, Brother Zhuo, I, Xu Ju, have never gone back on my word. This time is no different. If Brother Zhuo is worried, I can swear a heavenly Tao oath. With that, Xu Ju deftly swore a heavenly Tao oath. Chapter 43:10. In the Void Yama realm, there is a famous divine void mountain. In every corner of the divine void mountain, there are many divine void springs. These divine void springs can greatly increase the cultivation speed of cultivators below the defying ancient star rank. The family behind me is in charge of Shuyan realm. They have some Shunshu springs. I can bring the two of you into the Shunshu springs controlled by my family to cultivate until you break through. Xu Ju looked at Zhuowen. Shunshu springs? Okay, deal. Zhuowen nodded and threw the map fragment to Xu Ju. He had also heard of the Shunshu springs. It was one of the many treasured lands in Shuyan realm and was quite famous. In addition, Xu Ju had made a heavenly oath, so Zhuowen let down all his guard and straightforwardly handed over the map fragment to Xu Ju. After Xu Ju took the map fragment, he hurriedly opened it and checked it repeatedly. Ziyu, the old man, and the middle-aged man also hurriedly came over. After the appraisal was correct, They were all wild with joy. After many twists and turns, in the chaos of countless experts fighting for it, they had the last laugh. Zhuowen silently looked at the excited Xu Ju, Ziyu, and the other three. His expression was calm. If it wasn't for the fact that the colored mud told him that Moyan Wushang was in Shuyan Divine City and that Xu Ju came from Shuyan Realm, Zhuowen didn't intend to give the map fragment to Xu Ju. The colored mud's news also made Zhuowen change his mind. After all, if he wanted to find Moyan Wushang, he might need to rely on the power behind Xu Ju. Brother Zhuo, you are weak now. Although your talent and strength are strong enough, you still don't have the ability to keep the map fragment. How about this? How about you give the other map fragment to us? Don't worry, we will give you enough. We will reward you. After Xu Ju put away the map fragment, he exchanged glances with Ziyu and turned to Zhuowen. Brother Xu Ju, I have a use for the first map fragment. I won't use it as a bargaining chip, Zhuowen said with a frown. Before Xu Ju could speak, Ziyu couldn't help but sneer. Zhuowen, you're wanted by many experts right now. If they know that you're not dead, what do you think will happen to you? Zhuowen looked coldly at Ziyu. You're threatening me? Ziyu looked like a petty person intoxicated with success. She cast a sidelong glance at Zhuowen. Threatening? Sorry, I'm just stating the facts. For a rogue cultivator like you with no background, so what if your talent is strong? The superpowers of the super domains can send out any one of them. Any expert can crush you to death. It's a waste for the map fragments to be in your hand. The wisest thing for you to do is to hand over the second map fragment. This way, you won't be in danger of being hunted down. Zhuowen's eyes gradually narrowed. He couldn't help but step back. But just as his right foot took a step back, the middle-aged man behind Zhuowen silently circled behind him and blocked his path of retreat. Brother Xu Ju, what do you mean by this? Do you want to break your promise? Zhuowen felt the powerful aura of the middle-aged man behind him and his hair stood on end. He turned to question Xu Ju. Xu Ju and the old man stood to the side. They had no intention of interfering. Seeing Zhuowen's question, Xu Ju calmly said, Brother Zhuowen, did you misunderstand something? I did have an agreement with you and I also made a heavenly oath. But this agreement is only between you and me. It has nothing to do with Brother Ziyu. Yes. And in the agreement, it didn't say that I have to help you when you're in danger, right? Also, I think Brother Ziyu is right. You can't keep the other map fragment. You should hand it over to Brother Ziyu. Their clan also has control over the map. If you agree to his request, you can also enter his clan's treasured land to cultivate. Why not? Zhuowen's expression completely turned cold. He knew that he had been played. It seemed that Xu Ju and Ziyu had already planned this. They were just waiting for him to jump into the trap they had prepared. What if I don't hand it over? Zhuowen said gloomily. Xu Ju only smiled and didn't speak. Ziyu smiled sinisterly. If you don't hand it over, then don't think about leaving today. Zhuowen had just finished speaking when the old man behind Xu Ju stepped forward and blocked Zhuowen from the other side. His powerful aura locked onto Zhuowen. 2 peak Dharma adepts of the universe surrounded Zhuowen, causing the pressure on him to increase. Although Enyu was also a peak Dharma adept of the universe, the reason why he could escape from Enyu was because he had the right time, place, and people. If not for these, he wouldn't have been able to escape so easily. And now, facing 2 peak Dharma adepts of the universe, Zhuowen's sense of danger increased greatly. Boom, boom. The middle-aged man and the old man both summoned their respective Dharma adepts. Instantly, the space within a radius of hundreds of millions of miles collapsed. The pitiful Morbei city couldn't withstand the pressure of the 2 Dharma adepts and was directly crushed into ruins. And all the living things in Morbei city were completely annihilated. They couldn't be more dead. Zhuowen stood in the middle of the ruins. The middle-aged man and the old man surrounded Zhuowen, one in front and one behind. Their huge Dharma adepts looked down at Zhuowen from above. The 2 of them didn't dare to be negligent. After all, Zhuowen had escaped unscathed from Enyu. This person was as cunning as a fox. They couldn't let their guard down. Attack! Ziyu shouted. The middle-aged man and the old man attacked together. Their terrifying auras were like erupting volcanoes that rushed into the sky. The two Dharma adepts waved their huge arms and smashed down like mountains towards Zhuowen on the ground. The two Dharma adepts' attacks were extremely tricky and unpredictable. They almost blocked all of Zhuowen's escape routes, forcing him to face the attacks head-on. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The strong wind was like sharp knives that wantonly rushed towards Zhuowen's face, sweeping up his messy long hair. Boom, boom, boom. The two arms finally smashed down, and the entire ground resounded with a terrifying explosive sound. It resounded continuously, reverberating throughout the entire space, rumbling non-stop. The middle-aged man and the old man slowly retracted their Dharma adepts' arms. A bottomless pit appeared where Zhuowen had been standing. At the bottom of the pit, magma surged. The blazing heat shot into the sky, as if it could vaporize space. Hey! That Zhuowen's aura disappeared. Did he die just like that? The middle-aged man and the old man looked at each other, a little surprised. This Zhuowen was a bit too weak. If this kid only had this little bit of ability, then how could the handsome woman not be able to capture him and be played around by him in the end? I thought this person was very powerful. It turns out that in front of a pinnacle Dharma adept, he still can't withstand a single blow. Ziyu laughed proudly. Shu Ju, who was standing not far away, frowned slightly. He felt that something was strange. He didn't think that Zhuowen was a match for a pinnacle Dharma adept, but he also didn't think that Zhuowen would be so easily dealt with. Shu Ju's gaze shifted slightly and he glanced at Ziyu. He found that there was a large puddle of water on the ground not far from Ziyu's feet. Chapter 43:11. Ziyu watched as the attacks of the two pinnacle Dharma adepts of the universe finally landed where Zhuowen was and blasted a bottomless pit. She couldn't help but reveal a happy smile. In her eyes, Zhuowen would be seriously injured even if he didn't die under the joint attack of the two pinnacle Dharma phase experts of the universe. After they captured Zhuowen alive, she had the means to use all kinds of torture to force out the whereabouts of the other piece of the map. Thinking of this, Ziyu's smile became even brighter. The curve of her lips became even deeper. Not good. Brother Ziyu is in danger. Quickly dodge. Ziyu was feeling the proudest when Shu Ju's shout rang out. He suddenly looked at Shu Ju and found that the latter was looking behind him in horror. Ziyu knew that things weren't good. She turned her head and immediately saw the human-shaped water stain behind him. The lines on the surface of the human-shaped water stain quickly became clearer and clearer. Then, an unforgettable face appeared in front of her. Zhuowen. You. Ziyu looked like she had seen a ghost. Her eyes were wide open. She looked incredulously at the smiling youth in front of her. You seem to be smiling very happily when you see me die. Zhuowen's smile became even brighter. But in Ziyu's eyes, this smile was like a death sentence that made her extremely uncomfortable and stiff. Purpluyo's face was pale. He didn't speak anymore and quickly retreated. But unfortunately, Zhuowen was already prepared. He suddenly punched Ziyu's body. Pu. Kai. Ziyu spat out a mouthful of blood. She arched her back like a cooked shrimp from Zhuowen's punch. Purple after all, Yu was only at the pinnacle of Gushing. Before Zhuowen broke through the Qianquan Great Tribulation, he could easily crush Ziyu. Now, Zhuowen was already at the middle stage of the Qianquan Great Tribulation. Capturing Ziyu was just a matter of reaching out his hand. While Ziyu was enduring the severe pain in her abdomen, Zhuowen's right hand was like a pair of pliers that fiercely pinched Ziyu's neck. Surging energy spread to Ziyu's 8 meridians like ropes, imprisoning Ziyu's entire body. Hara Ziyu, who was still fiercely struggling, suddenly rolled his eyes when the energy entered his meridians. The intense pain made him scream miserably. His body twitched crazily. You, let go of young Master Zio. In the distance, the middle-aged man's expression changed drastically. He urged his huge cosmic avatar to charge madly at Zhuowen. On the other hand, the old man was much calmer. He didn't charge over with the middle-aged man. Instead, He retreated to Shu Ju's side and protected him at all times. Zhuowen looked at the middle-aged man who was getting closer and closer. His lips curled into an imperceptible sneer. He suddenly raised his right hand and Ziyu was forced to face the middle-aged man. If you dare to take another step forward, do you believe that I will immediately kill Ziyu? Zhuowen's voice was terrifyingly calm. He looked coldly at the middle-aged man who was charging over. The strength in his right hand became heavier and heavier. Ziyu, who was being held in his hand, was flushed red. Her face was full of pain. Fruit indeed. Under Zhuowen's threat, the originally aggressive middle-aged man calmed down and hurriedly stopped his footsteps. Then kill yourself to atone for your crimes. Only then can your sins be washed away, the middle-aged man said angrily. Are you forcing me to kill Ziyu? Zhuowen teased. Don't be rude. Ziyu quickly transmitted to the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man called Ji, who sighed in his heart, but he didn't dare to disobey Ziyu's orders. He looked at Zhuowen and snorted coldly. What do you want in order to let young Master Zio go? Very simple. All of you retreat 500 million kilometers. Zhuowen said lightly. 500 million kilometers? Zhu frowned. He looked deeply at Zhuowen and continued, Brother Zhuowen, we were just joking. You don't have to take it to heart. Let Brother Ziyu go. After all, Ziyu's background isn't any weaker than mine. You'd better not hurt him. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. Retreat. Otherwise, Ziyu will die. Zhuowen didn't even look at Shu Ju. Instead, he looked at the panicking Ji Hu and spoke in a voice as cold as a knife. Ji Hu glanced at Ziyu, nodded, and started to retreat. Clang. When he retreated to Shu Ju and the old man's side, he hesitated for a moment before cupping his fists. Both of you, nothing must happen to young Master Zio. Otherwise, I'm afraid he will be implicated. Please give me some face and retreat with me. Although Ji Hu's tone was polite, he didn't restrain his aura at all. It was tightly locked onto the old man and Shu Ju. Shu Ju and the old man's faces were gloomy. They knew that if they didn't agree, Ji Hu would most likely attack them and force them to retreat. They weren't very afraid of Ji Hu. What they were most afraid of was that if they really clashed with Ji Hu, Zhuowen would likely take advantage of the situation. At that time, even Shu Ju would be kidnapped by him. All right, I'll retreat with you, Shu said. Ju had naturally considered this situation as well. He coldly glanced at Zhuowen, and under the protection of the old man, he slowly retreated with Ji Hu. The three of them retreated all the way to a mountain peak 500 million kilometers away before stopping. This range happened to be the limit of Ji Hu and the old man's divine senses. In other words, they didn't know how Zhuowen and Ziyu were 500 million kilometers away. This person is as cunning as a fox and cautious. He actually found a countermeasure so quickly in the face of the sudden situation just now. What a terrifying person, Ji Hu said with a gloomy face. We've miscalculated this time. The secret skill that this person mastered is really impossible to guard against. We didn't even notice when he appeared beside Brother Zio, Shu exclaimed. Ju rubbed his forehead with a slight headache. He had thought that everything would go smoothly and be under his control. But he didn't expect that things would develop in a completely out-of-control direction. This person sent us away to escape. I just don't know if he'll let young Master Zio go, Ji Hu said worriedly. Shu Ju sneered. Let Zio go? Ji Hu, you're too naive. Zio is Zhuowen's bargaining chip now. It's equivalent to a death exemption gold medal. Think about it, if you had a death exemption gold medal, would you easily return it to the original owner? Ji Hu's expression changed slightly. He took a deep breath and smiled bitterly. So what? Do I have any other choice now? If I don't do as he says, young Master Zio will die on the spot. Now, at least I can confirm that young Master Zio is still safe. Ju didn't answer Ji Hu. Instead, he gave the old man beside him a look and spoke telepathically. Elder Ling, I remember that old man Ming Deng, Blood Beauty, and Yun Chunzi haven't left Newer Domain yet. Elder Ling glanced at Ji Hu, who was still secretly worried about Ziyu, and replied telepathically, "Yes, the three of them don't really believe that Zhuowen died just like that. They said that they want to see him if he's alive or dead. They even went to Newer City to look for clan leader Newer. They should still be in Newer City now." Chapter 43:12. Okay. Now secretly send a message to the three of them. Tell them that Zhuowen isn't dead and that he's nearby. Tell them to act secretly. This time, we must kill this Zhuowen. Shu Ju's eyes flashed with a cold light. He felt more and more threatened by Zhuowen, and in addition to Lian Rong's high regard for Zhuowen, this caused Shu Ju to feel a deep jealousy towards Zhuowen, and his killing intent towards Zhuowen was getting stronger and stronger. Should we discuss this with Ji Hu? Elder Ling looked at Ji Hu, who was still standing in front anxiously. Shu Ju shook his head. We can't tell Ji Hu about this. Once we do, he definitely won't agree. After all, if old man Ming Deng and the others really find out that Zhuowen is here, they won't care about Ziyu's life or death. And once Ji Hu finds out, he will definitely become an obstacle to us. Elder Ling nodded. He took advantage of Ji Hu's days to pass on the information about Zhuowen to old man Ming Deng and the others. Female in a secret place in the core of Newer Domain, there was a huge divine city. This divine city was the birthplace of Newer Domain's core power, the Newer clan Newer Divine City. At this moment, in the great shrine of Newer Divine City, Huang Ju, who had been in seclusion for a long time, was forced to come out of seclusion to greet three uninvited guests. These three uninvited guests were none other than the bright lamp old man and his two companions who refused to give up. Although the three of them were only at the pinnacle of the universe's Dharma plane, and there was still a certain gap between them and Huang Ju. However, their backgrounds were much greater than Huang Ju's. Therefore Huang Ju came out of seclusion to greet them personally. In the great shrine, Huang Ju sat on the spacious and luxurious main seat. His hands and feet were placed neatly on either side of him. His gaze was solemn as he looked at the three luxurious seats on the right side of him that were also overflowing with light. At Huang Ju's side, Nina's hands were folded over her abdomen as she stood quietly to the side. At this moment Nina's face was slightly pale and her curvy body was faintly trembling. She looked rather weak. In on those three seats sat three stalwart figures. They were none other than old man Ming Deng, Blood Beauty, and Yun Chunzi, who had come uninvited. Huang Ju looked at old man Ming Deng and the other two sitting in front of him and felt a slight headache. The three of them had extremely strong backgrounds. Even he did not dare to offend them. Think Huang Ju couldn't help but laugh bitterly in his heart as he cursed Zhuowen in his heart. Ladies and gentlemen, you've already checked NUS Divine Soul. I think we, the Newer clan, have shown enough sincerity. Is there anything else you're not satisfied with? Huang Ju discreetly glanced at the woman beside her. Seeing that the latter was so weak that she could barely stand, she sighed in her heart. Bai Ming Deng and the others still didn't believe NUS words. Therefore, after their visit, they suggested to Huang Ju that they should personally examine NUS memories. Huang, although Ju was furious, the forces behind the three of them were indeed much stronger than the Newer clan. Therefore, he could only inconvenience NU again. After experiencing the pain of having her soul searched again, NUS Divine Soul had suffered a certain amount of damage. If it weren't for her strong will, she would have fainted on the spot. Ming old man Ming and the others frowned. They had all checked NUS memories. Just as the middle-aged scholar had said, in NUS memories, Zhuowen had indeed self-destructed in the end. NU hadn't been able to get anything from Zhuowen. However, the three of them were still unwilling to give up. In their opinion, the map fragment was of great importance. The material used to make it must be extraordinary. Even if Zhuowen had self-destructed, it shouldn't have been able to turn the map fragment into dust. Unless, of course, Zhuowen had hidden the map fragment somewhere else. Only yes, Zhuowen had already self-destructed and died. Even if he had indeed hidden the map fragment somewhere else, it was as good as nothing to them. Who knew where Zhuowen had hidden the map fragment? Old man Ming sighed softly. He took a deep look at NU, then cupped his fists at Huang Ju and said, "Clan leader Huang Ju, The three of us have been presumptuous this time. Old Man Ming apologizes to you. Clan leader Nu is indeed fine. The three of us have been overthinking. Huang Ju sighed in relief. He was really afraid that Old Man Ming and the others would not let go of Nu. If that was really the case, he might have to take the risk of offending the forces behind the three of them to protect Nu. Haha. Looks like it's all a misunderstanding. It's rare for the three of you to come to Newer City. Why don't you stay for a while and let the Newer clan take good care of the three of you? Huang Ju said in a relaxed tone. Old Man Ming, Blood Beauty, and Yun Chunzi were clearly a little ashamed. They all thanked Huang Ju politely and apologized to Nu. They had given Huang Ju and Nu enough face. Nu, whose expression was originally not very good, saw the three of them lower their heads and apologize, and her expression finally improved a little. Under Huang Ju's beckoning, Old Man Ming and the others were about to follow Huang Ju into the inner hall to attend the banquet. However, their communication jade talismans lit up at an inappropriate time. When they checked their communication jade talismans, their expressions changed greatly. They quickly confirmed it with their eyes and quietly nodded. What are the three of you still hesitating for? I've already ordered the servants to prepare the banquet. We're only waiting for the three of you. Huang Ju seemed to have sensed something and turned around. He found that Old Man Ming and the others had stopped and were communicating with their eyes. He couldn't help but ask in surprise. Clan leader Huang Ju. We're really sorry. We suddenly had something to take care of. I'm afraid we won't have time to attend the banquet. We'll bid our farewells here. We'll pay you a visit another day to apologize. Old Man Ming and the others graciously cupped his fists towards Huang Ju. Then, he hurriedly left Newer City with Blood Beauty and Yun Chunzi. Great clan master, they seemed to be very anxious. Did something happen? Nu asked. Nu looked at the backs of Old Man Ming and the others as they left. Her heart relaxed a lot, and she finally opened her mouth to speak. I'm not sure either. Perhaps the power behind them has some urgent matter that requires them to be summoned. Huang Ju said. Ju's gaze was also rather puzzled. He didn't think too much about it. Instead, he looked at Nu and gently said, Nu, I've wronged you this time. Originally, you took back the Dark Chakra Eye and made a great contribution. However, I still made you suffer the pain of having your soul searched. Nu shook her head repeatedly and said, Clan leader, you're treating me like an outsider. This matter isn't your fault. You can only blame that Zhuowen. If not for him, I wouldn't have been suspected. I really didn't expect that after Zhuowen died, I would still be tricked by him. Zhu patted Nu's shoulder and said with a smile, You've already done very well. If not for you, we wouldn't have been able to take back the Dark Chakra Eye. As for Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng's deaths, they deserved more than death. After all, our Newer clan is sacred and inviolable. They offended us and had to bear the price of death. Chapter 43:13. After Old Man Ming Deng and the other two hurriedly left Newer City, they gathered in a mountain valley far away from Newer City. Ming Deng, do you think this information is reliable? Shuemai looked at the old man holding the lamp. Her beautiful eyebrows slightly furrowed as she asked uncertainly. This information was sent by Ling Long of the Xianyang realm. Ling Long and I have a bit of friendship. Since he dares to say that Zhuowen is not dead, I think it should be true. After all, if he gave false information, he would have offended the three of us. Old Man Ming Deng's analysis was clear and logical. This Zhuowen is really beyond my expectations. If it weren't for the fact that this kid has offended so many people, I would really like to take him as my disciple. Yun Chunzi rubbed his chin with his right hand and chuckled. Blood Shuemai glanced at Yun Chunzi and sneered. It would be a real tragedy if he became your disciple. I remember that none of your disciples had a good ending. All right, stop arguing. Let's believe Ling Long for now. According to him, Zhuowen should be near Mobei City at the northern border of Newer Realm. It just so happens that the three of us have the transmission mark given to us by Huang Ju. With this mark, we can freely teleport to any transmission array in Newer Realm. I remember that there is a transmission array at the northern border. It's not far from Mo Bay City. Let's try it now. As Old Man Ming Deng spoke, he activated the transmission mark in his hand. Suddenly, a blazing white light burst out from the back of his hand and enveloped his entire body. Blood Shui Mai and Yun Chunzi also followed suit and activated the transmission marks on their hands. At Old Man Ming Deng and the other two hurriedly rushed towards Zhuowen's location. Zhuowen was still standing there. At this moment, his right hand was clutching Ziyu's neck. It was not until his divine sense could no longer detect the traces of Shu Ju and the other two that he loosened his grip slightly. Cough. Cough. Mystery coughed violently. He looked at Zhuowen with eyes full of fear and panic, like a small beast seeing its natural enemy. Zhuowen, I did as you said and got Marquis Ji to retreat 500 million kilometers away. You should be satisfied, right? Can you let me go now? Ziyu asked carefully. Zhuowen looked at Ziyu with a smile that was not a smile. He gently said, Ziyu, did I say that I would let you go if you did as I said? Ziyu was frightened. All the hairs on his body stood up. He stiffly looked at Zhuowen and stammered, You sent them away, or you want to kill me. At this moment, Ziyu completely regretted it. Marquis Ji was sent away. No one could save him now. Don't worry. As long as you listen to me and do as I say, I won't kill you. It all depends on your performance. Zhuowen smiled warmly. Purple, however, Mystery did not feel any warmth from Zhuowen's smile. Instead, she felt a deep chill. Now, send a message to Marquis Ji. He must not report what happened today to the power behind you. If he does and I find out about it, then I'll kill you right away. Zhuowen spoke indifferently. Purple Mystery sighed in his heart. For the sake of his life, he could only do as Zhuowen said and send this message to Marquis Ji. I've sent it, Zhuowen. Do you need me to do anything else? Mystery put the communication jade talisman back at his waist and looked at Zhuowen in fear. He wanted to stay away from Zhuowen, but he did not dare to. I need you to sleep for a while. Zhuowen grinned. He stepped forward and punched Ziyu's head, knocking him unconscious. Zhuowen handed the unconscious Ziyu to Shan Lingyun and Zhu Yuan in the Great World to guard. He quickly rushed towards the northern border. Shu He could no longer trust Zhu. If he wanted to find Moyan Wushang, he could only rely on himself to go to Shuyan Divine City. Female at the northern border of WA domain stood a tall divine pillar that reached into the clouds. In front of the divine pillar was a huge battlement. On top of the battlements, there were troops of cultivators guarding the border. Only, however, the number of cultivator troops on the battlement was smaller than usual. There were some cultivator troops were attracted by the battle in Morbay City just now. Many cultivator troops were dispatched to Morbay City to investigate. The surface of the divine pillar in front of the battlement had all kinds of complicated patterns. An invisible energy ripple spread from the divine pillar, forming an invisible and powerful barrier at the northern border. At this moment, there were many cultivators lined up at the city gate, waiting for the gate guards to inspect them. They were all cultivators who were planning to leave the newer realm. Some of them were local cultivators who were traveling, doing business, migrating, or returning to their own realms from other realms. But generally speaking, most of these cultivators who left newer domain from the border belonged to the bottom level. They did not have much money to pay for long-distance teleportation arrays. Therefore, they could only choose to leave newer domain by drifting for a long time. Zhuowen, on the other hand, did not lack money. He had chosen to leave the newer realm in this way for his own safety. Zhuowen, who had disguised himself, quietly mixed into the group and silently waited for the group to advance and be inspected. After about a few hours, Zhuowen, who had mixed into the group, discovered the auras of Shu Ju, Ji Hu, and Elder Ling. He quietly glanced at the dark clouds in the distance. He knew that Shu Ju and the other two should be observing this place from the depths of the dark clouds. Zhuowen was not worried that the three would attack. After all, Ziyu's life was still in his hands. Ji Hu would definitely not dare to act rashly. In order to ensure Ziyu's safety, Ji Hu would not let Shu Ju and Elder Ling act rashly. At this rate, Shuju and the others could only watch as he left the newer realm. Very soon, it was Zhuowen's turn. There were 2 guards at the door. They stepped forward and used their consciousness to scan Zhuowen inside and out. They also searched his body. After asking about Zhuowen's identity and origin, they let Zhuowen leave. Go! After leaving Newer Domain's border, Zhuowen subconsciously glanced at the dark clouds in the distance that were constantly sinking. A mocking smile appeared on his lips. Shuju, so what if you've used all your tricks? You can't do anything to me. As the saying goes, it's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. Once my cultivation is strong enough, no one can save your life. However, what Zhuowen did not see was that Shuju, who was observing him from the depths of the dark clouds, had a smile on his face. Zhuowen, you're still too careless. Although I can't do anything in your scheme, sometimes there's no need for me to personally kill someone, Shuju whispered in his heart. He glanced at Elder Ling beside him. The latter understood and quietly took out a communication jade talisman. He sent a message to Old Man Ming Deng and the other 2, informing them of Zhuowen's specific situation. Chapter 43:14. At this moment, Old Man Ming Deng and the other 2 were still hiding in the battlements at the border. They had been silently observing the cultivators passing by, but what troubled them was that they couldn't tell which one was Zhuowen. They had too little contact with Zhuowen and weren't familiar with him at all. In addition, Zhuowen was in disguise. It was basically impossible for Old Man Ming Deng to easily recognize Zhuowen. Just as they were vexed, they received another message from Elder Ling. This message was like a timely rain to the 3 of them, quenching their thirst. That's the real Zhuowen, Old Lamp shouted and leaped out of the darkness. He quickly rushed to a small hill outside the battlements and blocked the path of a figure. Old Lamp's eyes lit up. Old Lamp's eyes lit up. Blood Beauty and Yun Chunzi followed closely behind, surrounding him from both sides in a pincer formation. In the blink of an eye, the figure was surrounded by the 3 in a triangular formation. There was no way out. Old Man Ming Deng and the other 2 didn't conceal their auras. Therefore, their actions naturally attracted the attention of the cultivators and guards entering and exiting the border. Why? When they felt the terrifying auras from Old Man Ming Deng and the other 2, they all revealed looks of fear and trepidation. They hid far away and didn't dare to get too close. What's going on? Why are Old Man Ming Deng and the other 2 here? In the distance, within the endless dark clouds, Ji Hu, who had been silently watching, suddenly changed his expression. If in the past, he would be happy to see Zhuowen suffer, but Ziyu's life was now in Zhuowen's hands. If something happened to Zhuowen, wouldn't Ziyu be finished too? Ji Hu originally wanted to intervene in this matter, but he was stopped by Elder Ling. Ji Hu, calm down. I know you're worried about Ziyu, but you have to think clearly. This is the only way you can save Ziyu, Shuju said slowly. Ji Hu's pupils shrank. He looked at Shuju and asked darkly, did you inform Old Man Ming Deng and the others? Shuju was non-committal as he smiled faintly. Marquis Ji, I'm trying my best to save Brother Ziyu. Think about it carefully. With Ziyu as a hostage, do you think you have a chance to save Ziyu? You will only be led by the nose by Zhuowen. As for me and Elder Ling, there's no need to talk about it. If we make a move, you will definitely be pressured into stopping us. Won't we end up in an endless loop? Won't we have to watch Zhuowen take Brother Ziyu away and escape easily? Once he escapes, it will be very difficult for us to find his whereabout. Ji Hu calmed down. What Shuju said was reasonable and not unreasonable. He couldn't think of any reason to refute it. But if a third party intervenes, then it has nothing to do with us. As long as Old Man Ming Deng and the other 2 kill Zhuowen, won't Brother Ziyu be safe? Shuju revealed a sinister smile. Ji Hu was silent for a moment before he retorted, this Zhuowen is full of cunning. When Old Man Ming Deng and the other 2 attacked him, he might have guessed that we were behind it. What if he kills young Master Ziyu in a fit of rage? Zhu laughed. He won't dare to kill him. Ziyu is mainly a bargaining chip in Zhuowen's hands to restrain you and Elder Ling. If he loses even this bargaining chip, He will have to face the crazy revenge of you and Elder Ling now. He is already facing the encirclement of 3 pinnacle Dharma plane cultivators. If he kills Ziyu, then he will have to face the encirclement of 5 pinnacle Dharma plane cultivators. As long as Zhuowen isn't crazy, he won't kill Ziyu. Ji-Hu's eyes brightened as he looked at Shu-Ju with a trace of fear. Shu-Ju was indeed worthy of being called the most scheming genius on the Outer Realm Celestial leaderboard. This trick was too ruthless. Zhuo, even if Wen knew that they were behind it, he wouldn't dare to kill Ziyu directly. He could only suffer in silence. Inside, while Shu-Ju and Ji-Hu were silently observing from the depths of the dark clouds, Zhuowen's face was terrifyingly gloomy. He raised his head and looked around. He looked at Old Man Ming Deng and the other 2 who surrounded him. His mind was filled with thoughts. He quickly realized that all of this was Shu-Ju's doing. I miscalculated. I didn't think that Shu-Ju would leak the news to Old Man Ming Deng and the others in order to eliminate me, Zhuowen thought to himself. Zhuowen, I know it's you. Don't hide anymore. Show your true face. Old Man Ming Deng looked down at Zhuowen, who was wrapped in a black robe. His powerful aura completely locked onto Zhuowen. Zhuowen sighed and no longer pretended. He lifted his hood and revealed his true face. Why are the 3 of you looking for me? Zhuowen's eyes flashed as he asked. For me. You already know the answer. Hand over the map fragments on you. We will consider leaving your corpse intact. Blood Beauty licked her scarlet lips and said coquettishly. The 3 of you. You are making things difficult for me. The map fragments are no longer with me. You may not know this, but the reason why I participated in the Great Hunt in the Golden Mountains was actually because Shu-Ju asked me to help him obtain a map fragment hidden in the Golden Mountains. After I obtained the map fragment, I needed to hand it over to Shu-Ju, and he would give me the corresponding reward. Just now, I gave the map fragment to Shu-Ju, and then I prepared to leave the newer realm. If you want the map fragment, you can go and find Shu-Ju. Wen shrugged and pushed all the blame to Shu-Ju. Ming Deng, Old Man Ming Deng and the other 2 exchanged glances, then secretly glanced at the dark clouds in the distance. They were not ordinary people, and they had long noticed Shu-Ju and the other 2 hiding in the dark clouds. The 3 of you, I have indeed made an agreement with Zhuo Wen, and he has indeed given me the map fragment he obtained from the Golden Crow Mountains. However, this child didn't only have one incomplete map on him. He also had another incomplete map, which he had obtained from a tomb in the past. I believe you all know my father, and that he has a bad temper. If you think that my map fragment is easy to take, feel free to attack me. However, you may have to face my father's crazy revenge after this. Suddenly, Shu-Ju's calm and sonorous voice rang out from the dark clouds. Ming. When Old Man Ming Deng and the other 2 heard Shu-Ju mention his father, their expressions changed drastically. They did not take Shu-Ju seriously, but Shu-Ju's father was a famous expert in the Void Yama realm. He was a terrifying existence that they could not afford to offend. With such an expert supporting them from behind, how could they dare to casually make a move against Shu-Ju? You must be joking, Sir Shu-Ju. Since this kid still has a map fragment on him, we naturally have to ask him for it. As for young Master Shu-Ju's map fragment, it's yours. We don't dare to covet it. Yun Chunzi cupped his fists at Wu Yun in the distance and spoke in a polite manner. Sure. Wen frowned slightly. He looked coldly at the dark clouds in the distance and knew that something was wrong. He knew that whatever he said next would be useless. Look. He had to find a way to escape. Thought. Zhuowen's eyes flickered as he looked around, thinking of a way to escape. Bookmark for easy reading. Chapter 43:15. Zhuowen, there's no need for me to continue talking nonsense. Hand over the map fragment, and we'll leave you with an intact corpse. The old lamp elder began to become impatient. He spread his hands at Zhuowen and said rudely, Okay, I'll give it to you right away. Wen nodded seriously, and then pretended to take something out of the macro world. Ming, seeing that Zhuowen was so tactful, the old lamp elder and the other 2 secretly nodded, and their eyes revealed a look of contempt. Zhuo Wen gently pulled out his right hand, and a divine sword that shone with purple, gold, and black brilliance appeared in his palm. The moment he pulled out the Taiyu sacred sword, Zhuowen summoned his own Qian Kuan world. Sword shaking the 9 heavens. Hongmeng heaven and earth. Life in the morning, death in the evening. In an instant, Zhuowen displayed one divine ability after another. Terrifying sword light burst out like a storm, and with Zhuowen as the center, it quickly spread out in all directions. Whoosh! At the same time, the first 5 layers of Zhuowen's 9-layered Qian Kuan world were opened. 5 kinds of terrifying tribulation energy surged out like a tide, completely drowning the old lamp elder, Blood Beauty, and Yun Chunzi. After doing this, Zhuowen used the Hongmeng body technique and shot out like a bolt of lightning, rushing in the direction of the extreme north. The old lamp elder and the other 2 obviously did not expect Zhuowen to suddenly attack, and for a moment, they were caught off guard. Fortunately, the 3 of them were peak masters of the Dharma phase of the universe, and their reactions were very fast. After Zhuowen displayed his divine ability, they quickly retreated, and after putting some distance between them, they summoned their respective Dharma phases of the universe to resist Zhuowen's divine ability and tribulation energy. When they had completely dealt with Zhuowen's offensive, Zhuowen had turned into an illusory Xiao Hei dot in the distance. Chase. This time, we won't let him escape. Ming the old lamp elder, Blood Beauty, and Yun Chunzi simultaneously turned into 3 long rainbows and chased into the distance. Let's go take a look too. In the depths of the dark clouds, Shu Ju, Ji Hu, and Elder Ling followed closely behind. They didn't follow very closely, but rather trailed far behind with no intention of approaching. Zhuowen pushed his movement technique to the extreme. His speed was comparable to most cosmic Dharma adepts. However, what made Zhuowen's heart sink slightly was that the bright lamp old man and the other 2 were even faster. Yun Chunzi's speed was the fastest among the 3. Beneath his feet, an incomparably gigantic cloud dragon appeared. This is the cloud dragon shuttled about recklessly as if it had entered a no-man's land, rapidly approaching Zhuowen. Seeing how fast the cloud dragon was, Old Man Ming Deng and Blood Beauty leaped onto its back after getting Yun Chunzi's permission. Their powerful auras completely locked onto Zhuowen. Seeing that the distance between Zhuowen and the cloud dragon was getting closer and closer, Zhuowen also felt that it was troublesome. He knew that if this continued, they would definitely catch up. When they passed by a huge river, Zhuowen suddenly plunged into the river. Then, he used his secret technique, invisible water escape. He turned into invisible water and merged into the river, following the surging river to the east. Whoosh! Pang! The big cloud dragon followed closely behind and also plunged into the water, wantonly surging in the depths of the river. On the cloud dragon's back, the bright lamp old man and the other 2 were not affected by the river's current at all. As long as the water was within a few meters of them, it would automatically separate them. Hey! That Zhuowen's aura has disappeared. The old lamp man was left bewildered. His profound divine will unfurled like a spiderweb, covering an area of hundreds of millions of miles around Jianghe. He scouted everything clearly, but could not sense Zhuowen's aura at all. Blood Beauty and Yun Chunzi were also shocked. Their divine senses also couldn't detect any aura of Zhuowen in the river. Imitation the moment Zhuowen jumped into the river, Zhuowen suddenly disappeared from the face of the earth, his aura completely gone. The 3 of you, this kid has mastered a strange secret technique. He can turn himself into a pool of invisible water without any aura. Even you can't detect it. He should have used that secret technique to merge himself into the river, following the river's flow to the east. While the bright lamp old man and the other 2 were vexed, Shuju's voice came from the water. The bright lamp old man and the other 2 urged the cloud dragon to jump out of the water without hesitation. They saw Shuju, Ji Hu, and Elder Ling floating on the water not far away. Since you know about this, why didn't you say it earlier? The bright lamp old man said rather unhappily. Shuju, the corners of Shuju's mouth curled up slightly as he said with a faint smile, the 3 of you, it's not that we don't want to say it, but this kind of important information isn't free. Moreover, I have a way to track Zhuowen's whereabouts. But what kind of price can you pay? The bright lamp old man and the other 2 narrowed their eyes. They were a little surprised. They didn't expect Shu Ju to raise conditions with them at this time. They had to admit that this kid was really bold. Sure. As long as you are sure that you have a way to track Zhuoan, you can raise a condition that is within the scope of what we can afford. The bright lamp old man discussed with the Blood Beauty and Yun Chunzi before nodding lightly. Actually, my condition isn't too excessive. I just want to exchange treasured lands with the families behind you. Both sides can reach an agreement so that the juniors of both sides can enter each other's treasured lands and promote each other, Shu Ju said with a smile. The bright lamp old man, the Blood Beauty, and Yun Chunzi looked at each other. The families behind them were all extraordinary. They each controlled a treasured land in their respective realms. While these treasured lands were the foundation of their families, the foundation of their future prosperity. If Shu Ju and the others were really sincere, exchanging treasured lands was actually a win-win situation. We can't decide on this matter, but we can report it to the higher-up. If the higher-ups don't agree, your request may be invalid. The bright lamp old man said indifferently. It's fine. This is just one of my small requests. Actually, I have another request, Shu Ju said with a smile. The bright lamp old man frowned slightly. This Shu Ju's request was a bit too much. Did he really think they were doing charity? After you obtain the map fragment, you need to give a fifth of the quota to Ziyu and Ji Hu. Whether we can track down Zhuoan or not depends on their cooperation. Shu Ju looked at Ji Hu beside him and said with a smile. The bright lamp old man and the other two discussed and nodded in agreement to this request. There were a lot of spots for each map fragment, so it wasn't too difficult for them to take out 1/5 of the spots. Ji Hu, I've fought for what should be fought for you. It's your turn now. I know that you and Ziyu should have a way to track each other. Whether we can catch up to Zhuoan and save Ziyu now depends on whether you're willing to help us or not. Shu Ju looked at Ji Hu and said seriously. Ji Hu sighed lightly, and then he glanced deeply at Shu Ju and said, Shu Ju, your wisdom really terrifies me sometimes. I've been persuaded by you. I'll help you track down Zhuoan. As long as young Master Zio is still in Zhuoan's hands, then I'll know their exact location. Chapter 43:16. The surging waves of the Yangtze River were like the arms of a ferocious beast, fiercely hitting the bluestones on both sides of the river. Who? He also did not notice that when the waves hit the bluestones on the shore, a pool of invisible water silently adhered to the bluestones. Then, this inconspicuous pool of water slowly seeped into the ground, slowly moving towards the south of the shore. It was a vast and boundless wilderness. Patches of green grass spread out from far to near. In further away was a dense forest with towering ancient trees. In the depths of the forest, wisps of smoke rose in spirals. It was a serene and peaceful scene. On a small, inconspicuous hill in the wilderness, puddles of water spread out from the ground, and then began to condense into a human figure. The figure condensed and merged at a speed visible to the naked eye, finally forming a tall and straight young man. After drifting in the river for 49 days, I've come to the source of the river. I think I've already escaped far enough. Old man Ming Deng and the others should not be able to catch up. It was Zhuoan. He stood on the hill, looking at the lush forest in the distance and the rising smoke in the depths of the forest. There was a trace of peace in his heart. Only the peace in his heart was quickly replaced by a dull heartbeat. No, he didn't know why, but his heart was beating extremely fast. It was as if there was some kind of huge drum that was constantly beating, rumbling loudly. An ominous premonition washed over him like a tidal wave. Rumble. Suddenly, the hill under Zhuoan's feet collapsed. Then, 3 incomparably huge Dharma idol arms stretched out and fiercely slapped at Zhuoan. Zhuoan instantly brought out the 9 layers of the universal world. The first 5 layers were opened, and 5 kinds of terrifying calamity energy surged out. Bang! 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 The 3 huge Dharma idol arms, as if they were unstoppable, completely shattered the 5 kinds of calamity energy and then heavily smashed into the 9 layers of the universal world in the void behind Zhuoan. The Dharma idol arms and the universal world collided, and a huge explosion resounded. It was as if stars were constantly colliding. It was extremely terrifying and shook the world. Poochie. Zhuowen suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was abnormally pale as he was sent flying by a tremendous force. His figure was in an extremely miserable state. While the 9th level of the universe world had become much dimmer. The various calamities within the universe world seemed to have suffered a heavy blow as they flew about wantonly like rivers and seas. Dang, after Zhuowen was pushed back by the attack, the small hill was completely shattered, and a huge crater appeared in its place. While in the deep pit, the true faces of 3 solemn Dharma idols appeared. This is the 3 Dharma Laksana remained silent. Together, they once again launched a strong attack on Zhuowen. They did not intend to give Zhuowen any chance to breathe. Zhuowen's eyes narrowed when he saw their true appearances. He recognized them with a single glance. They were Old Man Ming Deng, Blood Beauty, and Yun Chunzi. From the angle of their attacks, it could be seen that the 3 of them had been lying in ambush here. Only that's right, how did they know of his whereabouts and set up an ambush in advance? Although Zhuowen's heart was full of doubts, but he also knew that now was not the time to be puzzled. With his current strength, it was still too difficult for him to fight against 3 pinnacle Dharma Laksana powerhouses. Once again, he used the secret technique, formless water escape. He blended into the depths of the earth and quietly left this place. Damn it. This kid's secret technique is too strange. Once he turns into a puddle of formless water, it's as if he has really disappeared. There's no aura at all. Old Man Ming Deng frowned and said with some distress. That's right. Once he uses his secret technique, we can't do anything to him at all. If it wasn't for Shu Ju being able to locate his whereabouts, we would have lost him long ago. Yun Chunzi sighed softly. Right now, we don't have any better ideas. We can only continue to chase. This kid is already injured. I don't believe that he can use that kind of secret technique without any restrictions. This kind of secret technique must have all kinds of restrictions. Blood Beauty's beautiful eyes were gloomy as she said. Blood Beauty is right. Let's continue to chase. We'll waste time with this kid until he dies of exhaustion. Old Man Ming Deng snorted coldly and rushed out again. After that, Old Man Ming Deng and the other 2 communicated with Shu Ju while tracking Zhuowen's location. Every time Zhuowen appeared from the formless water escape, the 3 of them would appear before Zhuowen and join forces to ruthlessly attack Zhuowen. After a while, after being ambushed again and again, the injuries on Zhuowen's body became more and more serious. Although, he had thought of using the Grand Sovereign Seal, but it consumed too much energy. Once he used the Grand Sovereign Seal, he was confident that he could injure one of them, but he would also be exhausted. He wouldn't even be able to use formless water escape. But, at that time, he would be dead without a doubt. Therefore, he could only passively run for his life. Time and time again, he was tracked by Old Man Ming Deng and the other 2. Then, the 4 of them would erupt into a great battle, and Zhuowen would run again. Just like that, he entered an endless cycle. What's going on? How can Old Man Ming Deng and the other 2 be able to track my exact location so accurately? The water of form was hidden in a calm lake. Zhuowen moved slowly while anxiously thinking. This was already the 10th time he had been ambushed. His injuries were extremely serious and even his consciousness was a bit blurry. However, he still couldn't shake off Old Man Ming Deng and the other 2. Zhuohe stabilized his mind and began to think. He didn't think that someone had used any tracking method on him. After all, his divine sense was extremely sensitive. If someone had used a tracking method on him, it was impossible for him not to know at all. Also, in other words, the problem didn't lie with him. Then where did it lie? Ziyu is awake. He's been shouting and screaming. I want to knock him out again. While Zhuowen was thinking, Xiao Hei's voice sounded in his mind. That's right, the problem must lie with Ziyu. Zhuowen was suddenly enlightened. Since there was no problem with him, then it could only lie with Ziyu. By the only foreign object on him was actually Ziyu. And Ziyu was Marquis Ji's master. Perhaps Ziyu and Marquis Ji had some means of communication that he didn't know about. Think. Zhuowen's eyes had a trace of hostility. Part of his soul entered the great world. He saw Ziyu tied to a tree stump on the island in the middle of the lake. She was constantly shouting and screaming. Shapotian was guarding beside the tree stump with a leather whip in his hand. He was gloating as he watched Ziyu howl. Master. Shapotian saw Zhuowen come over and quickly stood up. He looked a bit guilty. Zhuowen, where is this place? You should let me go. After all, you're safe now. Let me go. Ziyu saw Zhuowen come over and her eyes lit up. She hurriedly shouted for help at Zhuowen. Zhuowen looked at Ziyu and asked, Safe? Do you really think I'm safe? Ziyu was startled and said in surprise, Isn't it? Yes, your mother. Shapotian, whip him. I didn't say stop. Keep whipping. Zhuowen was suppressing a fire in his stomach as he ordered Shapotian. Shapotian shouted. Shapotian was very excited. He waved the whip in his hand and unceremoniously whipped Ziyu. Ziyu was dumbfounded. She didn't know what was wrong with Zhuowen. Wasn't it too much to want to whip him? But, immediately after, the violent whipping and the terrifying pain caused him to only care about screaming miserably. How could he think of anything else? Ah. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,